Hey. Got to go, Sean.
Good evening and welcome to night 2 of week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. I'm Sean Seacrease. This evening, we're going to be joined by a bevy of modern streaming stars, including Guano Maestro, TheSaintDoom, and Cat Light are all going to join us here on night 2 of week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. Guano, we saw some amazing plays on night 1 on Monday night. Team Fire took a 3-2 lead over Team Ice. Now we're going to see if Team Ice can come back tonight. As you look down this list, before we get into tonight's matches, what do you expect here on night 2?
There's a lot of fun stuff going on. It's with Francisco with the Karn Amulet deck. It's like, can he go off before Fpawlusz can get his combo rolling? And then Tryhard's Hexdrinker Jund. I got my butt kicked a few times today by Jund. And Doom with the Druid Karn. It seems like a lot of removal for that there. Going down the list, Sspiderspace with the Thalia Stompy. That's my favorite deck. I love anything Death and Taxes. And then we have another, Tron always is very popular. Hardened Scales, Yamakiller. We got Noblemurloc with the Zoo Burn. Surus is going to be playing the Karn Whir Prison. And Sodek, he is piloting his Dredge deck that just got him into the Pro Tour, actually.
It's going to be a beautiful night tonight. You want to talk about high-level modern? You're going to see it here this evening. And 2 of the modern decks that kind of pull at my heartstrings are actually going to face off tonight. All right, a little bit more on that when we get closer. The Modern Streamers League is first and foremost not only a chance to develop modern technology and have fun doing it, but it's an opportunity to raise money for charities. Our 2 teams, Team Fire and Team Ice, are playing in support of charities all season long. For Team Fire, they're in support of A21. A21 looking to end human trafficking around the world. And Team Ice is playing for the Cancer Research Institute. You can help your favorite team take down the other where it's most important, raising money for charity. You can click on the links to donate. They're just below us here on Twitch this evening. 3-2 is the way it stands in favor of Team Fire. We're just about set for match 1 of week 2, but we couldn't do this without our sponsors. Card Hoarder Online. If you need cards to play your favorite tech from tonight, Card Hoarder will take care of you in the digital realm. And if you're going to go to a big event, maybe you're going to go to a GP and play Modern where it's so much fun to see all of the outlandish tech that ends up in the room, well, you can grab everything you need there from Card Kingdom. I've got a Legacy outing coming up, and I just had to get some cards. Card Kingdom already hooked me up. They always surprise me with how quick they ship it, and I'll be getting some stuff for Modern too, because believe me, when we get to the deck I'm looking at, I'm missing a few key pieces, so I know they can hook me up. Card Hoarder and Card Kingdom helping us to bring you.
Between those 2, they've got everything.
They literally everything. And because I'm not surprised a lot of time Card Hoarder has it, because you have digital objects and it seems a little easier to curate that. But the physical cardboard, Card Kingdom always has the stuff that I'm looking for. Well, as the Modern Streamers League develops, Guano Maestro, we kind of mentioned it Monday that we're going to be bringing in different pieces as the season moves along. If you've ever made an omelet, or if you've ever asked someone to make you an omelet, you know, they don't throw everything in there at one time in order to make the best omelet. You introduce things when it's time for it. We're going to be bringing in extra turns, a segment we're working on where we all get to know the players. We're going to be bringing in player deck techs in the weeks coming up. But tonight, we get to introduce the Forecast of Doom. You got a little taste of this when Mike Goldenberg, TheSaintDoom, gave us a match breakdown on Monday night. And now we're ready to introduce the first little bit of spice into our omelet tonight. He's going to give us the breakdown between Andrea Biaggi, that's Capolo 42. He's going to be on Jeskai Saheeli in match 1. And Francisco, well, he's bringing Amulet to the table. How do these 2 match it up? Let's get the Forecast of Doom on the Modern Streamers League.
Are you ready for phase one?
Welcome to the Forecast of Doom. I'm Mike Goldenberg, or TheSaintDoom, here showcasing the match between Jeskai Saheeli and Amulet Titan Karn. The key cards I see from the Jeskai perspective are the 4 Path to Exile main and the 2 Force of Negation. Those are the best cards that Capolo has to interact with Francisco's deck, because Path to Exile can remove a Titan, and Force of Negation can stop a Karn, a Summoner's Pact, or anything else that Francisco is trying to do. From Francisco's side, the key card is Karn, surprisingly, because Karn can grab Pithing Needle, which can stop all of Jeskai Saheeli's combo, and Capolo does not have too many answers from that aside from Teferi. And naturally, the other key main card is 4 Amulets of Vigor, which allow the entire Amulet Titan deck to act a lot faster and a lot more threatening very quickly. The sideboard cards that are key from Jeskai Saheeli's side are the 2 Ashioks, which can stop any sort of search effect, a Disdainful Stroke, which can counter a Titan, and an Engineered Explosives, which can destroy not only amulets, scouts, but also that Pithing Needle that I mentioned that was so crucial. From Francisco's side, he may bring in some Path to Exiles to try to interact with the opposing side's combo deck, and he may also bring in some negates to stop Force of Negations, to stop Teferis from interacting with him. I do feel like Prime Time is favored here because it generates more value and actually has a slightly faster Goldfish. I feel like for Jeskai Saheeli to win, we need to see a tempo game plan to keep Amulet off balance while getting slight advantages in damage with Snap and Bolt. That was it for the Forecast of Doom. Hope you guys liked it. Let's see the match.
And away we go.
It is time for match 1 this evening on the Modern Streamers League. Team Fire already with a leg up on Team Ice as they won 3 matches to 2 on Monday night. Sean Seacrease along with Guano Maestro for match 1 here this evening. Guano, we just got the great Forecast of Doom coming up here tonight. I know you were on stream today. Did you run into either of these 2 decks, Jeskai Saheeli or Karnulet?
I did not actually run into. I didn't have to see Karn, actually. I was kind of surprised, but that's okay. It's like Karn is, when you see him, you're like, here we go. Do I have enough to kill him? Do I know what I'm doing? But here we go. Looks like he's got an amulet immediately, so that's exactly what he's looking for. Capolo's got both parts of his combo working and a remand ready to go. So looks like Capolo got a nice shave on for the show. That's good.
Always looking hair sweet for the show here on Modern Streamers League. You know, we talked about it with TheSaintDoom that the Goldfish, he thinks, is quicker from the Titan side. Well, if you're able to assemble the combo that was affectionately referred to when it was first discovered and broken as Crazy Cat Lady, well, that's going to be good enough right out of the gate, it seems. And now we're going to see Capolo go for his first Saheeli here. And he can run with this because he's got the backup in his hand. Now he's going to take the shields down, though, and give his Amulet Titan opponent a chance to do whatever he's able to here in match 1, game 1. Summoner's Pact is going to be the play from...
Looks like this is going to be a Titan right here. So, oh, no, he played the Azusa. Okay.
Well, with the Amulet, this could be a Titan anyway, as he can create the mana.
There it is right there.
So that's 6. Will it be the Titan right out of the gate?
There it is. Turn 4 Titan. Oh, Capolo with the head shake.
When you're playing an aggressive combo that needs a lot of pieces, the way that Jeskai Saheeli does, you're going to have to go for those pieces on the board. Capolo knew he was taking a calculated risk, and right now, he's going to pay the price for it. We're seeing all the matches, just a reminder, this week in Week 1 from the perspective of Team Fire. Now, we'll be seeing matches from the perspective of Team Ice in the coming weeks here on the MSL. But Team Fire has been gracious enough to be our host, as it were, for all of Week 1. So you'll see Team Fire all night tonight. Capolo here, Matt Hurley from the Tryhards coming up next, and all of our Team Fire hosts as we move along here this evening on the Modern Streamers League. So Saheeli down. Now, what can Francisco do here? Looks like a transmute of Teleria West.
Oh, he's got the Pact of Negation just to make sure. He's looking good.
Now Capolo searching for answers because he's got nothing going on right here. He's a light years away from the Celestial Colonnade.
Feels like the smarter play would have been if he would have just kept, instead of dropping his Saheeli down, if he would have just kept that one bolt open and then went for it to get rid of Azusa. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to see that Titan, so.
Looks like he's going to go for the other half of the combo. He wants Felidar Guardian. This is going to lead to another shields down situation, and with one Titan already on board, this could be dangerous. Going to go with the path on the Titan.
There he goes.
Titan just opens up so many angles, and he knows he had to choose because he couldn't get the extra mana, couldn't afford to wait to go for the bolt on the mana ramp on the Azusa, and then with the path on the Titan. Now, though, you're giving Guano, what are you doing? You're giving Carnulet extra lands with that path.
Yeah.
Karn. What's interesting, and TheSaintDoom brought it up during the forecast of Doom, is how many sideboard slots Carnulet is really using for this. I mean, you've got Crucible, you've got engineered explosives, Graph Digger's Cage, Microsync Lattice, the big one.
The lockout, here it comes.
Worm Coil Engine available as well, but it looks like he's got enough mana for the last.
That's it.
And Capolo, he's going to take an untap. Think about what he wants.
He can't even cast that because it's colorless now. You have to use a blue spell to exile it from your hand to counter anything there. So this looks like a scoop.
Yeah, he had the blue spell in Saheeli, but now he doesn't have any more blue spells. And the concession going to come from Capolo here in game one. So Francisco, he is able to get Team Ice off and running right away here in week one, night two, as they're looking to even things up in this opening match, trailing 3-2 after Monday night, Guano.
Yeah, he's licking his mustache there. That must be his thinking mode, you know. He's got that. That's his move. When you know he's thinking, he's licking his mustache.
Either that or he just hid some cinnamon up there before the match started so he could get a little refreshment along the way. If you were going to hide something in your mustache, what would it be?
We probably can't talk about it on this stream, but we'll do it another time.
Okay, good to know. Get ready for game two here between Francisco and Capolo as Jeskai Saheeli going to need some answers for the absolute beating that it received at the hands of Karn Amulet here in game one. I don't think Anger of the Gods is going to be big here. Rest in Peace seems too slow. You know, Narset, she does a lot for you, but the way that the wording is on her text box, that doesn't really interact with the way that Carnulet gets its card advantage. So what are Capolo's options here? We saw it from the forecast of Doom about the key cards in the sideboard, and you can check out the entire 75 for each player, thanks to Flying Delver, who also makes sure that we have the breakdown up on the Twitch channel, is greatnessatanycost.com. He has a little preview, little 2-sentence, 3-sentence preview for each match each week, and a thumbnail picture of each of our competitors. So you can get a real good look.
I was real surprised that he took out all of his bolts and his lightning helix. I mean, last game, if he would have kept a bolt or a lightning helix open, I can't think of it. Or Azusa hit the board, he could have handled business immediately, and I think he would have been able to avoid that Titan. And it seems like he's not really doing that right now. I guess he doesn't think Azusa's going to hit the board this time. Not quite sure.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to hear from Capolo in future weeks with his deck tech, because the players are going to be playing the same constructed decks in 4 of the first 5 weeks of the Modern Streamers League. Obviously, he had to think about this matchup and how he wants to approach it, but is he really going to watch as Karn Amulet develops its board to hold back things like a Lightning Bolt, like a Path to Exile, and sort of do it after the fact? Once the Azusa's in play, as the active player, you retain priority so you can get those lands drops because they don't use the stack. So is it good enough, I guess, is the question there. Capolo obviously thinking that's not the case here.
Everybody in chat says I'm wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's not a surprise, and it's not the first time that's happened, so we're good with it.
Yeah, this is how we all learn. We go through this together. We watch these great players. Ashiok.
Wow, that's a great look right there.
So Capolo thinking about where he wants to go now. Another nice opening from the Karn Amulet deck. Did we stack all the Karn Amulet players on the same team? It certainly feels like Team Ice. He's just rife with Titan players. Somewhere TheSaintDoom is smiling to himself as his Titan playing teammates. He himself, of course, playing in the next match, known for being a Titan player as well. And Titan really has all kinds of different sort of flavors. You can play Bloom Titan. You can play that we've seen Karn Amulet Titan here in this. Yeah, a whole bunch of different ways that you can go about putting these big mana Titan decks together in Modern when you really get down into the fine refinements of how those cards interact together. Ancient Stirrings. Many people in the community, Guano, have argued for this one and Faithless Looting
to get banned
into timeout. Yep.
Go to the corner, Ancient Stirrings. Go to the corner.
WotC hasn't seen it that way yet, so we know that this is going to be the format.
He found the amulet.
And this is the amulet that really allowed for that early Titan last game.
But yeah, it looks like Ashiok's coming down right now, though. This is the search stopper.
So the question is, does Francisco have what he needs in his hand right now?
He's going to have a tough time getting through Ashiok. It doesn't really matter what's going on. He's got to have some way to get rid of Ashiok if he wants to search his library at all.
And he doesn't have much of a beat stick on board in order to do that.
Oh, but he's got Karn, though. Karn can search outside the game. Oh, Capolo with the head shake. He knows he can go outside the game and search.
Now, Capolo does have the ability for whatever he would pick up, Francisco picks up, to push that with Vendilion Click in his hand. So does Francisco see that? And does he want to go with the opportunity to allow Vendilion Click? He doesn't know that Capolo has one, let alone two.
Oh.
Secure a Tribe Elder.
Flashing in. He's putting that Pithing Needle in. Or Pithing Needle, I guess. Doom was, I don't know if my pronunciation is incorrect. Chat, can you give me the ruling? Is it Pithing or Pithing? I always thought it was Pithing. What do I know?
I think that's potato, tomato.
Or is that what Mike Tyson says when he's urinating? All right.
Sorry. The interesting thing is that the Pithing Needle doesn't stop the static text line on Planeswalkers. I think that's one of the innovations that War of the Spark brought with the new style of Planeswalkers is the static text line. And Pithing Needle doesn't do anything about that. Whether it's going to be Narset, whether it's Teferi Time Raveler, we see Ashiok already. So how does Francisco want to build out this situation, knowing that he's being sort of hemmed into a box by the static abilities of the Planeswalkers that Capolo's able to bring to the table? Much more controlling feel from Capolo here.
Mitten. Fox Mitten was giving you feedback on the Pithing, not Pithing. Lucky me, I was right for once. One time. That's all I asked. One time.
Where's Karn go this time? This is interesting. What lines?
Oh, this is the Engineered Explosives on 3.
And this is going to be a big time now.
Yeah.
Capolo knows. He's wistfully shaking the head. That's not to loosen up his traps for later gaming. That's wistful head shaking, knowing that he's going to be in trouble now.
But I did hear that about Capolo. He is a big trap loosener, if you know what I mean.
Well, and the insidious thing about EE, and this is one of the big values that it's always had, is you can put it on the table and threaten that and go for it when it's best for you. So are we going to see an end step activation of EE to clear the way for Karn to get another piece?
Oh, and Karn's only on 1, though, so he can't get anything right now.
He's going to have to go upstairs at least one more time. But is that the line he's going to try and set up here?
I'm surprised that Capolo didn't go for the Vendilion Click on his thing there. That's...
Vendilion Click, of course, at its absolute apex when you have Narset on board. Not giving the replacement card to your opponent. if you do it on their draw step, which is such a popular spot to hit him with it.
Oh, okay. But even if would it be worth it though? Even if the engineered explosives is on 3, he's got 2 clicks. So wouldn't it be worth it just getting the card out of his hand that he probably wants instead of allowing him to play it because he has 2? I
think
don't know.
That might be enough for Capolo, knowing that he has the backup. Also, you may be able to force Francisco to use the EE early to defend the Karn, depending on the contents of his hand, because Francisco only has 3 cards in hand right now. Capolo with a hand advantage, and he's looking for the Snapcaster.
There goes the EE and the Planeswalkers.
So interestingly enough, Francisco thinking, all right, if he taps low enough, it was almost a gamble in my mind that he didn't have another land. Using the 3 there, if he'd have gone to the 6th land and been able to get the Vendilion click on this turn cycle, this may play out way differently. But Capolo just ever so slightly hemmed in by some of his mana right now. The Bolt going to allow him to clear the way if he wants to keep the Snapcaster around and go for Karn. He'll protect it first with the Teferi. Great answers here because he's got both path if he wants it, or he could elect to go right straight with the Lightning Bolt to Karn. Bounce the...
And use the Snappy to kill Karn. Very good.
Yeah, that line. It holds the most resources back in Capolo's hand. It gives away the least amount of possible information to Francisco. I thought that was a brilliant use of sort of saving some of your ammunition for later that time by Capolo.
He definitely swung the game into his favor.
That Bajuka Bog has to feel a little hollow right now after the Snapcaster Mage came down.
So what do you think he's going to go get here? He's probably going to go get something with Karn here, yeah?
Vendilion click off the reveal of Karn on the stack. He's going to click himself to look for more answers.
All right.
So 5 power on the board now for Capolo. He knows he needs to put a clock at some point on this Karn Amulet deck.
Right, and he did all of this on Francisco's turn, so he's looking really good right now.
And if you give this Karn Amulet deck just unlimited turns as you try to forever sort of stiff arm them, they're just going to overwhelm you at some point. So he knows he's got to get some offense together here.
Well, and he can get rid of his Amulet right now, too, so...
And this might be a big hole in the plan for Francisco. I'd be surprised if he doesn't have another Amulet going for this play. Of course, Francisco does already have 6 mana in play, and he's got the ability to get the Titan with what's already on the board.
Yep.
But this has to feel good for Capolo to take a creature removal spell and use it to bust up Amulet.
All right, 3 cards in hand for Francisco. The Jeskai control deck seems like it's kind of turned the corner and it's ready to make things happen here. I mean, he might be able to remand into and draw into his cat right now. He's got enough. See, 1, 2, 3. Oh, he's 1 mana short here of just putting Saheeli and the cat down together.
But if remand pays him off that way, he could path one of his own creatures.
Yeah.
To get that land on the end step for Francisco, and which would untap on his turn. So he's got some chances to put that together.
All right, Francisco's got 3 cards in hand. He's got the Pithing Needle. He's got the Sakura Tribe Elder. Looking solid. Any major play, though, I mean, not only does he have the remand, the Force of Negation. He's got both of those open right now.
And if he doesn't feel like he's going to get paid off with the combo win on this deck, he can always use the Saheeli as a blue card for Force of Negation and hold up Remand as a double counterspell. And you can always, Guano, just pay the hard cast cost of Force of Negation. You don't have to pay the alternate cost, and he's got enough mana both.
Titan can't be countered, but it can be passed. It can be passed.
Titan off of the cavern. Now Capolo considering
We
which
got
line he
puns
go.
rolling in chat right now, just so you know. Puns galore.
Puns, high form of comedy and intelligence, or lowest common denominator in your mind, Guano?
I don't see. I'm torn by this because my brother-in-law says it gives him physical pain to hear a pun. So that makes me think that there is some value there. There must be some value there.
I was warped early. I received adulation from my Latin teacher, Father Eicher. He was a strident pun user, and so it was easy there because you got a little pat on the back, and it was ingrained in me early that puns were a good thing, and I'll break one out now and then.
I mean, when you would find one too, they're good to hold on to and save.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like wine, like good wine. They get better as longer you save it.
Teferi now.
We're deep here. We're turn 9. Usually by this time, one of these decks has assembled what they want to do. And, with the pack and negation. Is he going to remand that? Or can he force of negate?
Go for remand.
Yeah, but then he can just cast it again. Oh, but then he has to pay 10? Does he have to? 2, 4? Yeah, he's got 10. He just lets it hit the bin. All right.
Up for turn. The only thing that I don't like right here for Capolo is that he hasn't been able to get much of a clock going against Francisco. He's been able to make counter moves to Francisco's heavy punches throughout the game, but he just hasn't quite found a clock yet that's going to help him close this game out in short order. This one of the downsides to Pact is you can't combo it with Cavernous Souls to make it uncounterable. And we're going to see the hard cast, Force of Negation, cancel mode from Force of Negation.
This is what I like, though. This is where... Capolo. I mean, we're deep in the game right now. We're turn 9. These guys are just top decking, looking things over, working through their decks. There's no... neither of them is like, maybe no, it's every single play is thought through. They're using everything they have. Francisco's down to 1 card with a Karn on the board. Vendilion Click, though, is looking like it's going to destroy Karn. Here we go.
So that's Karn's down now for Francisco. And where was that stroke a moment ago is what Capolo was thinking.
There it is. That's what he wanted it for, right?
Going to find Transform Coil Engine.
All
now,
right.
no cards in hand for Francisco. This is where I'm talking about a clock. If Francisco's at 6 here and Capolo can shut him down to just one more draw, I like his spot. But he's at 11. It's a 4-turn clock with what Capolo has on board right now.
It's interesting that he did not activate the Saheeli there.
Amulet, not what you want to see at this point in the game. That was tantamount to a blank draw for Francisco. Still a 4. Yeah, not the mopiest of beats.
Oh, that's right.
Ancient Stirrings. Stirrings. Going to look for another big haymaker from Karn Amulet. Capolo, I think he wants that. I think he just wants the Saheeli out on board. He draws an artifact removal spell, then he can start going hog wild without tying up the mana that turn. Game 1 went to Karn Titan Amulet, and game 2, Capolo hanging on desperately, trying to force a game 3 here on our opening match. Night 2, week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. Speaking of history, Guano.
Yes.
Not only is Team Fire trying to make it by picking up week 1 here tonight, but our guest this evening is going to be the winner of the first ever Modern Streamers League match.
Oh, that's right. Kat took it over. She took that one down quick. She had that opening hand surgical extraction that made her very happy. She used that to its maximum potential.
Yeah, I'll be interested to talk to her about game 2 when she had the mulligan to 6 and kept the 4-lander. We'll talk to her in a bit as now Francisco finds the Primeval Titan.
Uh-oh.
Capolo The head. Already Sunhome on the battlefield.
He's looking at his options right now. He's digging to see what he's got.
If he goes with Remand, there's enough mana for Francisco that he can play it again, and he's going to try and force it. Does Francisco have enough to replay the Titan and activate Sunhome? But he used the Cavern, so...
Oh, you can't counter it.
Well, Remand just says return target spell to its owner's hand, does it not?
Yeah.
Or no, counter target spell. If it is countered, return it to its owner's hand.
Yep. He just used it to draw a card.
Yeah, he knew the wording. So he's got the combo now. But will he get another turn?
And it looks like he might have the double strike too with the Sunhome.
Yep.
That's going to be
And he's
smash
got
face
mana available because of the amulet off the double triggers from the Titan. Capolo. Looks like he ran out of cinnamon mustache.
Yep. Betrayed by the cinnamon mustache once again.
Sunhome.
That gives him double strike. Capolo with the head. No.
Boros Legion. Guano just saw it. Guano, the Boros Legion drafted Sun Titan at a key moment, gave him double strike. The advantages of being in the Legion, apparently. And that's going to be a win for Team Ice tonight. Capolo, thank you for hosting the match, bringing us the video here this evening. But it's going to be Francisco who picks up the win, 2-0, a clean sweep, and we are all even at 3 match wins apiece. Team Ice and Team Fire. Team Ice playing for the Cancer Research Institute during this first charity season of the Modern Streamers League. Team Fire, of course, playing for A21 to end human trafficking around the world. You can support your teams by donating to their charities as we play out through the 10 weeks of the Modern Streamers League. Guano,
click the button for the charities right below us.
Absolutely. You just watched it with me. The sideboard plan for Capolo, he never found a lot of, I think, what he wanted there, and it was just too much. We mentioned it, not much of a clock from Capolo, and the Karn Amulet deck just found its haymakers and bludgeoned it.
And people were telling me that the bolts and the lightning helixes weren't any good. Look at the sideboard cards that came in. Dispel, For Life. I mean, 2 of those bolts would have ended it. So it's all just a crapshoot as far as I'm concerned.
You have to see how that matchup is going to pan out. Best intentions don't always come to fruition in Magic. That may have been the case for Capolo 42 here this evening. Thanks to our players in round 1 of the Modern Streamers League. Coming up next, it is round 2. Matt Hurley of the recently deceased podcast, The Tryhards. And we're going to have TheSaintDoom. It'll be interesting to hear him give his perspective on his own match in the Forecast of Doom. That'll be coming up. This is Night 2, Week 1 of the Modern Streamers League.
Are you ready for phase 1? Are you ready for phase one?
It's night 2 of week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. I'm Sean Seacrease, along now with an actual expert in the world of Magic's most popular non-rotating format. She won the first ever Modern Streamers League match on Monday night when she knocked off Ghost X Empire on Dredge. You saw her pilot excellently, I might add. Blue Red Phoenix. Kat Light joins us this evening. Kat, thanks for joining us on the Modern Streamers League.
Thanks, Sean. I'm super happy to be here. Excited to watch some Modern. It's my favorite format. So
we're going to get a check-in with TheSaintDoom real quickly before we see match 2. But first, before we do that, did that match turn out on Monday night the way you thought it might? Because I've always eyed Blue Red Phoenix with a little suspicion, and I have to say, you've put it on my list of decks to seriously consider the next time I have to play, serious Magic for winners.
Definitely most of the time Dredge is favored, but because I had open deck list and I got to keep my 7 that had normally a surgical that's kind of like medium in it, that was really helpful. And then post board I actually feel pretty favored between having a thing in the ice and having 2 surgicals and 3 Rav traps. I like the post board matchup, but game 1 being able to know that I was playing against Dredge definitely made me feel much better right there.
Kat saying a very important key on why the Modern Streamers League might be a little bit different than the next time you're at a GP or even F&M playing Modern. We'll talk about that a little bit coming up during our next match. That match is going to be between the tryhards Matt Hurley on Jund Hexdrinker and TheSaintDoom. And SaintDoom is going a little bit to the left, a lateral move, shall we say. Known for big mana primetime strategies. He's still going to look at big mana, but this is going to be a Druid Karn deck. It's time for Doom's forecast for his own matchup this week on the Modern Streamers League.
Welcome to the second forecast of Doom. This is against Jund versus Druid Karn. The key matchup cards for Jund are all those removal cards, and check out the deck text. They're directly below, but you can see how many removal and interaction cards. I'm just going to list them: 3 Inquisitions, 2 Fatal Push, 2 Thoughtseize, 3 Lightning Bolt, 2 Assassin's Trophy, an Abrupt Decay, 2 Wrenn and 6, 1 Liliana the Last Hope, 2 Liliana the Veil, and 1 Plague Engineer. Those are all cards that interact with creatures. And Druid Karn is a creature combo deck. So those are the key cards from Jun's perspective, game one. From Druid Karn, from my perspective, I'm looking at this and saying, all those removal spells, I am not going to be able to combo with Devoted Druid. My game plan is to play Devoted Druids, have my opponent spend all those removal spells on my mana dorks, and hopefully land a Karn into a Wormcoil and win with Wormcoil. If you notice one unique thing about this Jund list, it's a little light on Assassin's Trophy, so if I can get my opponent to spend an Assassin's Trophy on a creature that is not Karn or not Wormcoil, then I have a much better chance of winning this. Still think I'm heavily unfavored because this Jund deck runs Harsh Mentor, which is a very, very spicy card, which actually punishes you for using any activated ability. If Harsh Mentor is in play, my Druid deck cannot combo. So, key sideboard cards. Matt can bring in even more removal, a trophy, anger, and if he chooses to, some sinkholes to attack my Karns and maybe even my Wormcoil in conjunction with a Wrenn and 6 or Last Hope activation. My key cards take out some combo pieces and bring in some Path to Exiles to loop with an Eternal Witness to try to grind the game to a point where Druid doesn't matter, but Karn does. That is the forecast of Doom. Let's check this match out.
Thank you, TheSaintDoom. Now, Kat, we get to see if he used a little bit of shading from a result that he might be anticipating when he gave us his own forecast. Matt, right away, we see Wrenn and 6, arguably one of the biggest cards to come out of Modern Horizons in his opening hand. Liliana the Veil. And this is, in a lot of ways, Kat, a classic Jund archetype because it wants to say that my individual cards are just better than your individual cards.
Definitely. I think that the biggest thing, the whole point that the whole axis on which Jund function is exactly that. Like, my cards are better than your cards, and I can turn all my 1-for-1ing eventually into 2-for-1s, especially with cards like Seasoned Pyromancer. I think that is actually, while Wrenn and 6 is really, really good, Seasoned Pyromancer made that matchup or made that deck a much, much better because all of a sudden you can convert discard spells, extra lands, a bunch of things into more card advantage. And the deck always struggled with turning its 1-for-1s into 2-for-1s to be able to pull ahead.
Now, I mentioned in the intro, just total journalistic honesty here. Matt and I have been friends for a long, long time. We were 2 of the 3 members that did the Tryhards podcast for over 3 years. I know a little bit about his play style. He loves oddball cards, and he loves cluttering up the board with anything, really. He'll take artifacts, creatures, planeswalkers, whatever you'll give him. And that oddball card is Harsh Mentor. Does this have a place in Modern, Cat, or is he really reaching here? And did he use what you said earlier, open deck lists, to try and get an advantage on TheSaintDoom?
I think that I think that would seem like a lot of Karn decks and potentially I don't know if we were supposed to expect Tron or anything like that, but I am not a huge fan of Harsh Mentor. I think it dies to most of the removal in the format. I think it's bad against most of the good decks like Dredge and Phoenix. It really just hits their lands, if that. So I think it's kind of not where I would want to be in building my Jund list. But I'm excited. I think in this matchup, it's fantastic.
All right, Matt, with the aforementioned Harsh Mentor already on the board doing work, and Harsh Mentor cracking in as he's looking to take the fight to TheSaintDoom. 13-12. Matt on top. Matt from Tryhards. He is the host for Team Fire, teammate with Cat Light here in Season 1. And I think that he did have the idea that he was going to be fighting big mana decks because you guys were nice enough to let me eavesdrop on your team planning sort of tech meeting before the league started. And one common theme you guys came back to was expect big mana decks of some sort on the other side. And because you guys as a team expected that, I think we see a couple of slots going to Harsh Mentor here and paying off in week 1 in the matchup for Matt against TheSaintDoom.
I think I'm interested to see if Tryhard will talk about why he did that abrupt decay right there. I think that this Harsh Mentor basically shuts down everything he's trying to do, and these devoted druids generate so much mana that you just don't really care about all of these mana dorks And you also, I guess he didn't have the Renin 6 in his hand, but I think being able to convert the Seasoned Pyromancer into more of a clock and finishing this game off is pretty much where I would want to be. But I'm no Jund expert, so I'm definitely interested if maybe he comes on at some point if he talks about this match.
Now we'll see Shalai. And this is going to be a tough Shalai to keep on the board. We see the Lightning Bolt in Tryhard's hand. You can couple that with Renin 6's ability to do 1 to any target, and it seems like this Shalai might not stick around long. And there goes the Shalai. Will Harsh Mentor get in again? So down to 7 right now is TheSaintDoom. And Seasoned Pyromancer, Cat, getting ready to join the party at some point. The mana just a tad bit restricted for Tryhards at this moment. But Seasoned Pyromancer, where do you see this card sort of shaking out in this matchup right now? Is it going to be enough to push Team Fire over the line, so to speak?
I think so. I think this being able to convert the Seasoned Pyromancer into an actual clock and draw 2 cards will basically make it so Tryhard didn't even mulligan. He just gets to draw 2 extra cards. So he goes back up to his normal card number. I also think that in this matchup, Jund's value plan is just so much better than the Druid value plan. Their value plan is really limited to Karn, Shalai, and a couple of Ewits. So I think that we'll just see that convert. And now he doesn't even really need to worry about the Seasoned Pyromancer. So
what line do you expect him to take instead of the Seasoned Pyromancer? We see Liliana, we see Tarmogoyf, but only one of them lets him really use all of his mana at this point. In Renin 6, it seems that sometimes the abilities on Renin 6 are kind of stapled together, maybe not thematic, but they all work together essentially in Jund's axis.
Yes, definitely agree. I guess you probably potentially want to get rid of this Karn because he only has 2 trophies in his deck, which are the best way to get rid of Karn. I'm not sure what Matt got off of the Karn when he minused it, which would be really helpful. I didn't catch that, but I'm not really.
Yeah, TheSaintDoom on the Karn deck.
Or TheSaintDoom, I'm sorry.
Yep. From the Tryhards, he's our host here on the bottom. You can see his grossly oversized noggin there just to the player side of the broadcast.
I like his line here. I don't think getting rid of that Karn is super relevant. I don't think it really does much on this board, and just making it so it can't minus again and gain more value. I like that better, and also keeping around the Rin. I don't think it's worth trading the Rin for the Karn.
So I'll be interested with what he tries to do now, because we know Renin 6 has a bevy of abilities that he can use. Is it worth it to go with the damage here to put the clock a little bit tighter against TheSaintDoom? Does he want the Seasoned Pyromancer? Liliana seems like the least likely option here, or is the time clock of Tarmogoyf going to outpace Seasoned Pyromancer? See what he decides here.
So Chad is saying that he got Worm Coil off of Karn, which means he's gonna, unless he draws a land, he's gonna have to take 4 damage for his Devoted Druids. So I think.
So Matt Hurley from Tryhards opting for the Liliana line.
Yeah, that way he has to draw a land, and even if he draws a land, he still can't play this Worm Coil, and all of a sudden his clock is just so much better.
So Matt, a longtime Jund style player, really the whole black-green X decks that are a long-time pillar of the modern format. Sometimes he pairs them with white, sometimes he pairs them with red, sometimes he'll just go at it with a straight black-green deck. Tireless Tracker, Kalidas, he's no stranger to those types of cards and strategies. So he's having some fun in his chair. You can see him laughing because these two, I should say as well, have a history with TheSaintDoom and Matt from Tryhards. They've known each other for quite some time. They've collaborated on deck builds for other events, and they may know each other better than any other matchup that we're going to see in week 1 this week. So this is really interesting from that point of view. And you can see Matt laughing now as Teferi comes down. Oh, so close. And is he going to be able to push this one over the line here in game 1? It certainly feels, Kat, like Jund has enough parts lined up. They're going to be able to drag it across the finish line.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Maybe if he gets his Worm Coil down, but this Rin can ping this Arbor Elf, and if he draws if he draws a Bolt, he's just dead. But if he draws any sort of removal spell. Then all of a sudden, like he like plus Lily and then sack minus her again to get rid of the Worm Coil. And I just feel like Jund is very far ahead here.
Well, and unless Worm Coil ends up with haste, the Wrenn can just do one here and then one on the next turn and end the game there.
That is also true.
So things seem to be looking up right now for Team Fire as things were tied up 3-3 with the win by Francisco in round one tonight.
Mm-hmm. This is my favorite line from Jund now is plus my Lily, discard my land, plus my Wrenn, get it back, or deal a damage. But I love it when they you like turn 2 Wrenn, like get back my fetch land, and then like turn 3 Lily, and you're like, this is not going to go well for you. It actually makes Jund really fun to play.
Well, you know what they did? They were a less efficient builder of their own Trading Post. And if anyone remembers Trading Post, it's one of my favorite dirtily cards. And they're essentially trying to build a less option-filled Trading Post at that time with more cards. Now, do their cards have other options that might be better than Trading Post? That's up for debate. But we'll see how this ends up turning out. But yeah, and that's just another angle, Kat, is that Wrenn and 6, we mentioned it, some of the abilities kind of feel stapled together, but when you actually start utilizing them in gameplay, they're all highly valuable, and they open up some lines. With Modern being so heavily graveyard focused, I think somebody on the cast tonight played Blue Red Phoenix on Monday night, that Wrenn's going to find a home.
I agree. I think Wrenn and 6 is something that came out of Modern Horizons that's seeing a lot of Modern Legacy play, and it's super powerful. Same for Seasoned Pyromancer. Seasoned Pyromancer is like my favorite card out of Modern Horizons. I run 2 of them in the Board of Phoenix for fair matchups, and I just think the card is just nuts.
So, so what does it do that it deserves those 2 sideboard slots?
So it does something like the way Phoenix functions. One of my friends, Tarek, explained this to me, and this is why he convinced me to play Phoenix. So it's the way Magic functions. In every deck, we have 3 axes on which Magic decks can function. Mana efficiency.
The game 1 win for tryhards. We'll go to sideboard as Kat finishes.
Yeah. Mana efficiency, board state, and card advantage. Phoenix managed to turn mana efficiency into board state and card advantage. Like all of your cards into putting things on the board, and you still are drawing more cards. Most frustrating thing ever is we'll see like play against someone, they're like, how many cards do you have in hand? I'm like, I flipped Thick in the Ice into Phoenix. I'm like 5. Like it's just not fair. And Seasoned Pyromancer functions on that same axis. It allows you to discard things that you probably are going to be discarding anyways, diluting, while putting board presence with elementals and drawing cards, or just converting 2 lands or dead cards in a matchup into more card advantage. And that's just like what you want to be doing in fair matchups. And I like that it can't be Force of Negation, and it still has an effect when it's trophied or decayed.
All right, so I'll ask the follow-up to that, which is, as an advocate for Phoenix, you were just talking about how it really hinges on those 3 pillars of Magic and uses all of them to create this rolling engine that's both resilient and value generating, as well as able to control the board and to put a clock on the opponent. Does it need a ban? Is it too good?
Nope. No. What are you talking about? No. Phoenix is fine. It's totally fine.
Yes,
I get to say
no need to step in at all, Watsy. No need. Nothing to see here. Well, you can see Matt's opening hand here in game 2 against TheSaintDoom. Who's got the better of the sideboard when you look at this, Kat? Is Jund able to get more out of the board, as we heard the forecast of Doom sort of talk about with their ability to salt and pepper their removal to taste, or the options that Doom has with Karn out of the board and all of the board slots he has there? Is that going to be more valuable?
I think that TheSaintDoom's board planning is like, he's probably bringing in paths because they're big, especially after seeing Harsh Mentor, which shuts down his entire deck. But his value package is really already in his main deck with Karn, so there isn't really much he can add on top of like path. And I think that Jund's already so favored pre-board that post-board it just gets even worse.
Cannot wait to hear from Doom in his next forecast of Doom how surprised he was to see Harsh Mentor roll out in game 1 in that. Whether he fell off his chair, whether it, sort of knocked his shirt off, he was so surprised by it. I think there are a lot of different reactions you could have had. Here's the turn 1 mana ramp from Karn, and now we'll see Matt of the Tryhards go after him with the Thoughtseize.
Yeah, that's a pretty obvious Karn take. Like, he can answer everything else, and the finale just like doesn't really matter.
Have you had much experience with these style of Karn decks? Is finale a key piece, or is that just a piece that says, I've got another out to get this done?
So I actually played Druid for almost a month. I didn't play the Karn version, but I played the more combo-oriented version with like Aldamri's Call. And Finale is like your key win condition, but in his hand, it just goes and gets potentially a Vizier or a value card, which can be handled by everything else. And Karn is just a card that I don't want to have to end up trophying. I would rather trophy a creature or bolt a creature. So if he goes he probably tries to get like Tracker with it. I think he has Tracker in his deck.
Bolt, Trophy, Renin 6, and Harsh Mentor in hand, along with the second land for Matt here. And now I know that TheSaintDoom is going to rewatch this match and be able to see it from Matt's side. And it was one thing that as he was getting ready for the match, we were kind of talking about behind the scenes. He said, I'm so ready to watch this from Matt's side, since Team Fire was recording the presentations this week, was hosting our presentations. And there are just so many things you can learn from watching your opponent play in a match that you just played in.
So I'm curious to see what Tryhard is going to do here, because I think that interesting. I think if he played Harsh Mentor and Matt drew Path, if he brought in Path, that's a problem, because he's drawn Path into like another win condition. If he, this is interesting. I guess so he's banking on him not potentially drawing another win condition.
Go for the Assassin's Trophy here. Is he banking on there not being another land available? He took the chance, and now TheSaintDoom going to look for the Temple Garden. If you're going to go down the mana denial lane, Kat, are you ready to untap and bolt the Druid here?
Yes. I'm kind of surprised the Druid is still on the board, to be honest.
So Finale, you mentioned the key pieces that Finale can go get. It'll be interesting to see what TheSaintDoom elects to get. Yeah,
so he's going to get Vizier, which makes infinite mana. And then he probably has another win, either Druid Ballista or another Finale to go get like a Ballista, which is what I was talking about. It's like why I probably want to get rid of the Druid there and force him to like play it, basically time walk himself and play another Druid, because then I have Trophy and I have Bolt, and there's much less. He's just much less going for him, because if he draws, he has 2 draw steps after that Thoughtseize, draw another win condition.
I so hope right now that TheSaintDoom is just suckering tryhards and he has nothing going on here. Oh no, he's gonna have.
Yeah, he drew the other win condition, and that's like what you have to worry about. You can't Thoughtseize the top of the deck.
So game 1 goes to Tryhards. Game 2 goes to TheSaintDoom, which means we got our first game 3 of the night tonight. We saw Tryhards, Matt Hurley of the Tryhards, go to a little bit of a mana denial strategy. Do you have any interesting in going Fulminator Mage maybe out of the board here and sort of doubling down on that angle?
No, they run a lot of basics, and it's a matchup where your life total does matter. So I'm probably more inclined to not bring in Fulminator Mage, and that's like not really what you want to be doing on turn 3, in my opinion. But no, it is definitely it's a mana denial strategy in the sense of like, but I think it's specifically oriented towards Druids. Druid voted Druid because.
And one side of it is with some of the 2 toughness creatures for TheSaintDoom and the Druid deck is there's no chance for Matt to bring in something like Liliana Last Hope, because that's just not going to get him anywhere in this matchup.
Yeah, exactly. You're holding the Vizier in your hand or whatever gets the Vizier until you have combo ready. You just know you rarely ever run it out so that something will happen to it, and it doesn't stop Devoted Druid.
So this will put Matt Hurley of the Tryhards 3, you see him on your screen, back on the play. Now he's mulliganed in each of the first 2 games. How discouraging is that now that we're in the world of the London Mulligan, Cat? Because we saw you have to do that in your opening match victory on Monday night. Are the decks in Jund are the decks, including Jund, in Modern, just so good now that the London Mulligan really takes away any penalty almost of having to mulligan?
I wouldn't say it takes away any penalty, because some decks are still like critical mass decks. Like Phoenix is still, in a sense, a critical mass deck. There's card selection, and you can convert some cards into card advantage because of Phoenix, but it's still a critical mass deck. So you're still punished, but you're punished less than with the Scry rule, because you get to see a whole new 7 cards and put something else on the bottom. And London Mulligan, I think London Mulligan's fantastic. I think it makes a lot of decks like Jund more consistent, able to find your answers more. It helps out fair decks a lot. Obviously, it helps out the combo decks more, but it does help out fair decks.
Except for Phoenix, right? It didn't help Phoenix at all.
Nope, Phoenix is totally fine and fair. That's right.
We see that with Jund having to keep a 4-lander on a mulligan to 6. Same opening play from TheSaintDoom as he looks for the Druid Karn win over Jund here in match 2. Eldrazi, Tron, and Thalia Stompy still to come. Hardened Scales and Zoo Burn. That's going to be an interesting one in round 4. And Karn, Whir, Prison, and Dredge. You want to talk about 2 decks that want to play the game in different styles coming up in round 5 tonight. Going to be an amazing night here on the Modern Streamers League. Jund looking for...
So when he untaps... He's probably going to play this Plague Engineer on Human because it shuts off Vizier, and so they can't get infinite mana and combo unless they have Path.
Bloodbraid Elf in Jund's hand. We haven't seen that. We've seen the other sort of mana advantage plays where you can get those 2-for-1s that you talked about in game 1. We haven't seen Bloodbraid Elf specifically. It was on the ban list for a long time in Modern. Is Bloodbraid Elf good enough right now?
So the people that I know that are playing Jund are actually only playing 2 or 3 of them right now, because it's not. While it is extremely powerful card, you still want to be having a lot of answers. You want to have a lot of like early card advantage and early answers, and that is where I don't know their exact reasoning on playing fewer Bloodbraid Elves, because Bloodbraid Elf into like Lily is fantastic, but I think Seasoned Pyromancer kind of like takes up that slot for card advantage.
I think Matt's on 2 for his deck this week. I mean, you had to make room for Harsh Mentor somewhere.
Yeah, agreed.
Still. Thank you for hanging out with us here on night 2 of the Modern Streamers League. Next week, we're going to have another week of Constructed before we get to our wildcard week. All different matchups as far as players versus players next week. All of our players will be on their constructed decks that they're using this week for the first half of the season. That wild card week in week 3. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue tonight here on the Modern Streamers League. So the Hexdrinker comes back down. I thought that he might go with his opportunity to shut down humans like you talked about a moment ago, Kat, but electing for the Hexdrinker here instead.
I think he realized that this Teferi is more of an issue, and once he drew the Inquisition, it changed his game plan because he still had a mana-efficient thing that he could do and a way to use all of his mana. And potentially next turn he can, if they still haven't played anything, and there's no combo pieces on board right now, so he's not really under any pressure. If potentially there was a Druid in play, probably wouldn't have Inquisition, because if he had double Vizier or some sort of like finale, it would have punished him.
TheSaintDoom looking to take both post-board games, something he was worried about in the forecast of Doom. And if he takes them both, that's really going to say something about, I think, the resiliency of this Druid Karn deck. What line is he going to go with here? Jund probably one of the decks that's least impacted by Teferi Time Raveler. They tend to play, yes, they have some instant speed removal, but they tend to play a lot of creatures, a lot of planeswalkers, Maelstrom Pulse, things that are already sorcery speed. It's on some parts a sorcery speed deck.
I like this play of playing Schley because it protects him from potential other discard, and I think he can be pretty sure that this is bad, though. This is bad for him. I guess the Teferi, like you said, doesn't matter nearly as much.
Death Touch on the Hexdrinker. Is Hexdrinker, is level up for 1 enough to make level up Modern playable, or do we need something that levels up like 2 times for a half a mana?
I think I think Hexdrinker is actually pretty balanced, especially because it becomes like protection from everything, and it's obviously a late game card. I think it's like really nice for Jund to have extra mana sinks that aren't just man lands. And I think Hexdrinker has a very big payoff once you've invested enough mana in it.
Protection from everything. That is some of the
Teferi stops Cascade. Sorry, I didn't realize that.
That were once written on a key card for No Rug. Yeah, you can only play cards when you have the opportunity to play sorceries, and that's going to lock up the Cascade effect. That's why no second card came into play off of the Bloodbraid Elves for the tryhards. Matt Hurley there representing the tryhards. Now a clock being picked up by TheSaintDoom. Now 3 isn't the biggest clock, but I think one of the interesting incidentals from this deck is that they can, as a big mana deck, actually utilize the Gavany Township part of the text box from their Protective Angel.
Yes, which is definitely really good when you need to have a value plan. And it also makes Devoted Druid better because it allows you to make 3 mana off of that.
Now, if we're being honest, that's, attack plan, H? But you
Yes.
have another piece of depth to the cards that you're already using proactively. And when you get those synergy options deep down the ladder, that's just another piece of power that this deck has.
Yeah, agreed. And Tryhard just said in the chat that he was playing Hexdrinker also gives him protection from everything, so he doesn't get Wormcoiled later off of Karn. And it can... So the Teferi was actually good against him because, 1, it can bounce the Hexdrinker playing it that turn, and it stops the Cascade of Bloodbraid Elf on 4. But he prioritized playing the Hexdrinker again because of Wormcoil off of Karn.
Hexdrinker going after Karn. So now the mana situation for TheSaintDoom, there seems to be plenty of it, but he doesn't have any of his combo pieces on the board.
I think he has to go on a fair plan of just trying to get this Wormcoil down, potentially. But we will see. Especially now that I guess Plague Engineer is on Angel to make the Lightning Bolt kill the Shalai. So.
Well, the Bloodbraid Elf looks like it's going to be bringing friends with it on the next turn here.
Mm-hmm.
Fire.
He could also just invest more mana in the Hexdrinker because he has 5 mana and to give it protection from everything. There's also that line.
What's the clock consideration with TheSaintDoom being at 12?
Say that again?
What's the consideration on the pressure, the clock of attacks with TheSaintDoom being at 12? Is there a certain situation you want to set up? Because the Bloodbraid Elf does have haste. So is there a line that feels more fruitful that's going to pressure TheSaintDoom a little bit more here, whether it's leveling up the Hexdrinker or going for the Bloodbraid?
Well, if we level up the Hexdrinker to a 6/6 with protection from everything, he just dies. So I also really like that.
Yeah, that's a 2-turn clock at that point.
2-turn clocks with protection from everything are nice.
He's going to look to the...
Or he's going to...
Here.
Interesting.
This is a man who could never turn down value.
I feel that. I definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's the kind of player that takes the extra ketchup packets with him from fast food places because he would not want to turn down that value. Bloodbraid getting in with everything here.
I like this attack a lot because of the pressure, and it really does force, even with Wormcoil, now next turn he can just up his Hexdrinker. He didn't have to do it this turn. So the Wormcoil just doesn't do anything.
And he got defense in the form of the Tormagoyf off of the Bloodbraid. So he hasn't left himself wide open to the crackback here.
Yes.
Hexdrinker going up one more level. Hexdrinker going up one more level. So Hexdrinker ready to end the game here next turn, it would seem. 7, though, for TheSaintDoom. That's not 6, which means that Wormcoil Engine can still do some work here if that's what comes down. But we're going to see the infinite mana combo again.
And we did know about that Vizier.
Mm-hmm. Now, we saw TheSaintDoom have the payoff in game 2. It's a possible, not likely, but possible that there would be no monstrous payoff awaiting him. But it looks like he just has a series of value plays right now available to him.
Well, he's popped Canopy, so he gets to see 3 new cards since the last time we saw this hand.
And now TheSaintDoom, who in the forecast of Doom said that he was going to look against Jund to not have creature-centric combos be his preferred, line for winning post-board games because of Jund's removal. But it looks like it's going to get him there in games 2 and 3 as we see the finale of Devastation.
Yep, he drew the finale of Devastation, and so maybe that was why Tryhard had Bloodbraid Elf. He was trying to find a bolt or removal spell for the Druid, which I actually, in retrospect, do like. He only had one draw. We knew the rest of his hand, or maybe we didn't. We had like one more unknown card. I did like how he said, I still had all these with the Wormcoil and the Skoos, and then he was like, oh, and I still have the Walking Blister, or the finale. It's good. Good stuff.
Well, after that win by TheSaintDoom, that is the first time here in week 1 of the Modern Streamers League that Team Ice has a leg up over Team Fire. Team Ice 2-0 to get things started tonight. Kat, I know you're going to stick around with us here for the next match coming up. That's going to feature Eldrazi Tron taking on Thalia Stompy. But if you want to go, like, give your team a locker room talk and try and pep them, I understand that things are down right now on Team Fire. But just a little quick post-match analysis. Did that play out the way you expected it? And what do you think really ultimately put Doom over the edge in this matchup?
It didn't play out exactly how I expected it. Tryhard did mulligan a lot, which definitely put him in a disadvantage. And he did feel he had to kill the Shalai and put the Plague Engineer on Angel and got put into a lot of really tight spots. That his TheSaintDoom's value package is a lot better than a lot of other Druid decks because of Karn. And he also, drawing the finale those 2 turns was nice.
Harsh Mansour.
Very nice.
Just didn't do enough in this matchup, but it was fun to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, we've got another great one coming up. How will the Team Fire preferred version of Tron fare in its matchup against Thalia Stompy? We'll have that next for you. This is day 2, week 1 of the Modern Streamers League.
Are you ready for phase 1?
The next round of the Modern Streamers League is set here on the second night of week one. Sean Seacrease along with Cat Light. Thank you for joining us this evening, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you're at for this iteration of the Modern Streamers League. Cat, this is going to be a great one. Ryan Steiner, VQWZX87, taking on Gabriel Maxon, Sspiderspace in our next round. This is going to be a showdown between Eldrazi Tron and Thalia Stompy. So we're going to see some heavyweight mid-range creatures going at it in this matchup. Is there anything that you thought about your teammate Ryan Steiner deciding to bring E-Tron into this Modern Streamers League?
I think E-Tron is the best shell for Karn right now, and so I think Karn's a really powerful magic card. I think Chalice of the Void's a really good magic card, and so I think that this is like a totally great deck choice. I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out because the Thalia Stompy deck has Ghost Quarters, which aren't very good against Tron lands, or are very good against Tron lands, especially with like Leonin Arbiter. So I'm definitely interested to see how this matchup is going to play out.
The teammate backing up the pick as we head into round 8 of week one of the Modern Streamers League. Who's got the edge? Who's got the better tech ready to come out of the sideboard? Let's break it down with the forecast of doom. This is the Modern Streamers League.
Welcome to the Forecast of Doom Round 3 edition. We have Eldrazi Tron versus Thalia Stompy. Now, these are two Chalice of the Void decks, so interesting that what these decks are built around is not useful against the opposing deck. Both of these decks are built around dropping a Chalice as early as possible, and Chalice doesn't really hurt either of these decks. Now, the key cards coming in the Eldrazi Tron's decks in the main board is Karn. We've been seeing a lot of Karn tonight. I played Karn, Francisco played Karn, and now we're seeing Karn from Team Fire. Karn is a threat that Thalia Stompy is going to have difficulty dealing with. On Thalia Stompy's side, there are a lot of different cards. For example, Revoker, naming Karn, could be a key piece. Displacer, bouncing key cards to get the last couple points of damage in. And Big Thalia, slowing down the tempo of the Eldrazi Tron deck, are the key main board cards. Key sideboard cards coming from Eldrazi Tron are Spatial Contortion and possibly even Basilisk Collar, just bringing in some extra removal spells to deal with the creatures. This is clearly a Smasher versus Smasher fight, but I wonder if Walking Ballista and I wonder if Endbringer are going to help bring the value for Eldrazi Tron. In Thalia Stompy's corner, Stony Silence is a card that interests me in this matchup, primarily because it makes a Lattice Lock look really, really silly. If a Stony Silence is in play, a Karn, the Great Creator, in play, and a Mycosynth Lattice are all in play, nobody can cast any spells. All we can do is attack with creatures. So I mentioned before, both of these decks are Chalice decks, so I anticipate those being sided out post-board. I think Eldrazi Tron is favored in long games, unless that Displacer is there to disrupt and kind of give Thalia Stompy some tempo. That's the Forecast of Doom. Let's see how this plays out.
It's an opportunity for Team Fire to get back into this matchup. It is round 8, week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. Sean Seacrease along with Cat Light. Thank you for joining us here this evening. Cat, I think the first thing we have to do is come up with an easier to handle nickname this evening for Ryan. I personally would like the eye chart, but we could go with like alphabet soup because VQWZX doesn't just roll off the tongue.
I think it's definitely like VicWiz. It's got to be something like that.
All right, we'll have to get somebody who's inside the fence who might know the reference to explain that to us. Already right off the hop, Ryan thinking about his deck, thinking about his plays. We've seen a lot of mulligans from your Team Fire here tonight, Kat.
Yeah.
Is this something that, is just kind of breaking your heart as you watch this happen?
It's part of Magic. As much as it sucks, there's a chance that your opponent has to mulligan too. But yeah, it's been a lot. I think that this hand's definitely one that we keep, as VicWiz said with his thumbs up.
But everybody has to be in on the secret by now, don't they? Everyone knows that Tron always draws the piece it needs on turn 3. So it doesn't matter how often he mulligans.
That is true. Eldrazi Tron's a little bit different, though. You have a little bit less setup.
Yeah, you're a little redundant.
Yeah. And he does have a turn 2 Reshaper here, which is nice, but especially because Gabriel or Sspiderspace isn't playing Path. He's playing Dismembers because he's been playing Chalice. He does have one exile removal spell, but we can bank on him more likely to have a Dismember.
We'll get some thoughts from Guano Maestro. He'll join me for the last couple of rounds tonight. He loves this Thalia Stompy deck. Anything, you heard him say it earlier tonight, anything that references a Death and Taxes style is right up his alley. So I'm eager for him to kind of help us break this down in just a little bit. That Dismember coming out quickly, as there's no way you want Lead and Arbiter shutting down your opportunities if you're Visquis now. And we also need to talk about, and I know that all the arts might not be available online. We have to talk about this particular art that's been chosen as part of the Urzatron. You can't get. I'm just clearly anti. I don't even want to say it, but we'll say potato. I guess at this point in the boiling pot. Is art a big thing to you, Kat, when you're putting your deck together, or are you just utilitarian? As long as it kills them, you don't care.
Oh no, I'm like a sucker for OG shock lands and unhinged lands, and I like try to my Phoenix deck right now actually has 3 different basic lands in it, 3 different basic islands. I have like an altar, an unhinged, and like a Zendikar art that I liked because I like all of them, so I want to play all of them. I
was just starting to get to like you here this evening.
None of my Steam mints match because I have a pretty foil one. I like the reprint, and I have an OG. It's a better way to do it.
It's to show off more of your OG Shocklands when you were playing Spirits, because that was banned Spirits, wasn't it? So you got all of them.
Yeah, I had a bunch of OG Shocklands, and then but the lands that when the community helped me replace my deck are foil reprints, and I love them. So. And
if you're short on any of those, you could get them from our sponsors. Card Kingdom, if you're looking to put it together in person, or from Card Hoarder, if you're looking to play on Moto, like the Modern Streamers League. Let's get down to it right now. It looks like Visquis has sort of worked his way out of that early mulligan. He's starting to add some of the powerful early drops from Eldrazi Tron to the board. And now, is he going to have a way to control this Lean and Arbiter? Does he want to trade, do you think, here and look for the Matter Reshaper trigger? Or is this something where he's just going to power up the Spear Spewer and look for it?
I think that well, now I'm definitely not attacking with Reshaper because there's Thought-Knot Seer in play. I'm not really sure what his plan is there. I am not very familiar with the play patterns with Eldrazi Tron, except from like playing against it. Oh, we're just skill game. I see he throws his hands up. Yep, skill game.
2 turns early on saying that Eldrazi always has it. I said turn 3. This is turn about 5. He always has it. He had to mulligan down to 5. So why not get paid off when you mulligan? The power of the London mulligan. Now I'm just tweaking people because his Smasher was far enough down that it wasn't part of his thought process there. But this is certainly going to be a huge payoff right now for Visquis, as he has the trump card on the board. And he can finish off either a Sspiderspace. Sspiderspace goes for the double block. He could have used the Walking Ballista to finish off Sspiderspace's entire side of the board and drawn a card for the Thought-Knot Seer. So that was a really, really great play, a great draw for Visquis, as he put Sspiderspace in a tough corner there.
Definitely agree.
Sspiderspace with the Cavern of Souls, even though and if one Smasher is good, an Answer Smasher probably just as good. Opportunity for Visquis to maybe trade away the Reshaper. How does he want to use this? Now, Smasher has Trample, so a use of the Spear Spewer, so to speak, and I know that is another card from a more recent set that's long been a nickname, but using it and then shooting with the damage doesn't actually save you any damage because there's nothing there, so all of the damage will trample over and come at you as the defender.
Yeah, I'm inclined to put the Ballista on the Arbiter and then ping the Thought-Knot Seer before damage. That saves you 2 damage plus kills the Thought-Knot Seer, and then you get the Reshaper trigger also.
And it seems it agrees with your line of thinking. And saving a point of damage here or there, Cat, is going to be big when you've got two decks that are throwing Reality Smashers at each other.
Yeah, agreed. And he will probably just hold this other Smasher back because now he's not winning the race to block. Drawing two Chalices is pretty bad. That's probably the first thing he's going to side out is going to be Chalice. Oh, all right. Yep. You see 3 cards. You're going to draw an Endbringer. That's good. That's extremely good. And I just don't think we attack. We just want to board stall and then just keep pinging with his Endbringer potentially.
So you would use the Endbringer to threaten on an attack from Sspiderspace to take the Arbiter, and you're willing to trade Smashers at this point?
Yep. Oh, 100%.
So does Visquis go into defense mode? He's thinking about it right now. He wants to turn it sideways.
I just don't want to die to another Smasher off the top.
And I think that's the consideration. With your life at 11, I think it makes your line of play maybe not the obvious choice, but a little bit easier to come around to. Whereas if it was 15-15, maybe you're more inclined to turn it sideways.
Yeah, I agree. If it was more even, I think this Endbringer would end up winning the race. But I think right now we are not behind. We are at parity, and I want to turn this Endbringer into an advantage and not have to jump block.
Do those Chalices have any value, or are they just blank cardboard in this matchup?
Oh, they are blank cardboard 100%.
So
he could play. Actually, there's a chance he could play it on 2. His opponent does have a lot of things that are 2-drops, and he has way fewer. So that's potential, but I don't think it really does anything on this board.
The question now is, does the Endbringer sort of rule the day to enough that it's going to take him across the finish line? Sspiderspace still with one more card in hand. Endbringer going to start giving card advantage to Visquis here. How will he use it? That's going to be a big line that he picks on his next turn. If you're Sspiderspace, do you force the trade on the Reality Smasher? He elects not to.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think he can start potentially winning with his Displacer. He can start tapping Reality Smasher. Tapping Endbringer, he'd have to do on his upkeep. But I think that he start tapping things down and getting damage through with Displacer, and that's probably going to be the game plan.
Mind Stone, the draw for Visquis. You're looking for another answer now. Of course, Endbringer has the great text on it that allows it to untap. So you can get multiple uses out of it on a turn cycle.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what this Karn does. Maybe if he has Pithy Needle on his board, he can name Displacer, which could end up helping him win this grind, break through the grind. I'm definitely interested to see what he gets.
If you're not going to go that way, this Karn doesn't seem all that great on this board.
I agree with you.
Well, the Mind Stone would only become a 2/2, and that's not doing much in an Eldrazi game.
Oh, he's Basilisk Collar, which when paired with Endbringer is just shooting everything down. So that's a chance. He could also play an Ensnaring Bridge because he can just play these Chalices out, but I think that just hurts. Actually, I think Ensnaring Bridge could end up being good because of Endbringer, so he can just start pinging through. So there's multiple different options. He can also just Sorcerer's Spyglass Displacer.
I'm sure that an Eldrazi Endbringer has spent most of its time wanting to become a Goblin Sharpshooter, which is what it can become when paired with the Collar. So yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think I would have been really close to wanting to get Basilisk Collar here just because it just is so good, but not.
There's the tap of the Smasher. And the tap of the Endbringer.
Oh. I'm surprised he didn't just at least try to ping him.
Visquis rubbing his hands over his head.
Yeah, I think Collar was the right get there because it removes. So he's going to go to. He's going to go to 1. He could have Reality. He could ping the Displacer, kill it, and then he could have the Reality Smasher to block and untap the Endbringer and then kill something else, and then he's right. Doesn't that work?
Yeah.
Or he can move. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also gaining life because Collar both lifelink and death touch.
Why can't Collar work?
Maybe the response when he goes to equip it, can he be the target?
But he could end up pinging it with Displacer. I guess he could end up bouncing it with Displacer, but I think...
He'd have to...
Oh, you just place the Endbringer when you go to equip. That's why. That makes sense.
Because
he's just smarter than I am.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I got it, chat. Color doesn't work. Okay, thank you. He's smarter than me.
You can get to that point in the game. If Sspiderspace would make the mistake of tapping out, it would certainly work, but...
Yeah. And I guess he can kind of hope that maybe he draws another card. He can play like the Sorcerer Spyglass out, and then try to get Collar later. Thanks, Luke.
I don't know if he's going to be able to hold off as Sspiderspace continues to go wider. Now, he does have the whale, the Warping Whale.
Does Warping Whale work here?
See what line Disquis attempts. At 4. But now Sspiderspace has the mana and the ability to use the Displacer. He seems to be in a commanding spot in this game for Sspiderspace. Team Ice trying to cement their lead.
Yeah. I wish if this Warping Wheel was like a spatial contortion, it would probably look better right here.
You're going to have to play it out just for the 0/1 and block?
Probably. But I definitely think that Spatial or Warping Whale is a good card that in the current like modern meta that we're expecting.
Not getting the most out of it right here, though it will keep him alive and give him an opportunity to look for one more answer. The problem, I think, is that Sspiderspace's life is at a relatively safe 14. Yes, a smasher on the top would look good, but that's still only going to put him at 3 after that, considering a ping from the Endbringer here. Now Displacer coming in.
Trying to kill this Arbiter. Okay. All right. Oh, do we? Only 1, 2. Oh, because we got. We don't have the mana.
Just 2 from Visquis, though, on the life, and now he's in a real tough spot. I don't actually see any way out here without the mana for the smasher on defense. And I think from the face, your teammate is seeing the same thing we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he only runs 1 Warping Whale. He could, Dismember isn't good enough right here from popping the Mind Stone. Yeah, it's not looking so good.
What are you going to draw here? And a third chalice, certainly not what Team Fire wanted to see. And that is going to be the win in Game 1 for Sspiderspace and Team Ice. Team Ice right now, they have it all going their way. A 2-0 win in round 1 tonight as Francisco picked up the win. Then TheSaintDoom gets a win in a match in which he was a big underdog. A big underdog. If we looked at a money line, I don't even think Vegas would have put a number on it. He was such a big underdog. He still managed to squeak out the win as Tryhard's Matt Hurley just mulliganed himself into oblivion. I got several angry texts about that as it was happening to him, as he was displeased with the shuffle. It's the first time any Magic player has ever been displeased with the shuffler.
Definitely.
Up 1-0. Post board. We heard Doom talk about it a little bit in the forecasted Doom. Your teammate going through his options here. Does it get better or worse for him here in post board, Kat?
I think his board again is kind of consumed by the Karn Wish board, and that definitely puts him at a disadvantage. I also, obviously not bringing Leyline of Sanctity in this matchup. I think that you have 4 Chalices and 2 Allah's Dust that you don't want in your deck, so that makes it much more difficult. But you get Spatial Contortion, and so you basically just need to get a board presence down. Oh, he's not happy with these.
You could see it on his face, that wry smile. As he considers a mulligan, Kat, have modern players, especially those who have really honed in on Karn and the Karn board plans, has there been an agreement on how many spots you should take up in the sideboard for your Karn plan? Or are players really still feeling that out? Because even though Karn's powerful and a lot of people jumped on Microsync Lattice right away, that combo really hasn't been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing between like 5 and 8 cards, 5 being really low. Normally you want like 6 because you want to have a lot of options. And while artifacts are extremely powerful, they normally do like one thing and do it really well. Why most of the builds around artifacts are good is because you have like a toolbox deck. But so you still want to be able to answer a lot of different things because you're putting 4 cards in your deck that are trying to get to this wish board. So I think that you really just want. Ooh, that map was actually a pretty good draw.
Yeah, he was able to get out both the Mind Stone and the map. Sspiderspace looking for an answer. And we didn't see part of the titular card name for the deck in game 1, and that's Thalia Stompy. But here we're going to see 3-drop Thalia. The 3-2 coming down.
Which is very, very good against this deck.
Yeah,
so
that's
he can either pop this. Yeah, he can either pop this map, try to get a land, play it tapped, and not really do anything to advance his board, or he can play this Matter Reshaper, which still comes in tapped, but at least he tried to advance his board. It just depends on. You can also kill Thalia, pop map, and then go get Eldrazi Temple and be able to play Matter Reshaper.
Looks like that's the line he's angling for. Just being able to get rid of the Thalia is a big win, I think, for Bisquis here. Temple right into Reshaper. No?
Can he not? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I did the math wrong. He has to have one more land to do that. But he's set up better to be able to do things on next turns. Getting a Tron piece there just doesn't make as much sense when he has he's definitely just looking for.
And the Whir tear out of the sideboard, and another wry smile from Bisquis. He just does not like the way this is rolled out so for him.
And he's saying, oh, yeah, we'll just draw it off the top. Draw the Thought-Knot Seer right off top.
Let's use the top of the deck. So Thought-Knot Seer. 3 cards in hand right now for Sspiderspace. That's going to be just 2. The Dismember will hit. That's the draw first, the way the stack works. So this was, this not the way you wanted it to go, but now you're going to get the absolute best card that your opponent has.
All right. That's
a good one.
That is a really good one. Definitely a good one to snag.
So we see one of the lands that recently made a splash in a recent spring release on the board for Bisquis Cat in Blast Zone. Better in the more controlling traditional Tron lists, or a tool that Eldrazi Tron was glad to pick up?
I think it's just a good tool in a lot of modern decks. I know that people were talking about, like, in these colors, they shouldn't have card advantage in this form. But I think it's, like, really given, like, decks like, it's helped decks like John, it's helped decks like Burn, it's helped a lot of decks that were, like, fair decks, but, like, just didn't have card advantage, so they just died to flooding. And I think it's, like, really powerful right now in Modern. I think it's actually really cool.
Big deal that it comes in with the 1 counter already on it, so that you have to find a way to take the counters off to hit tokens, or is that a selling point that it actually starts at 1 for 1-drops in the format?
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Canopy Lands. That's where I was. But Blast Zone also. Sorry. I think Blast Zone's also really great for the same reasons. It's just really versatile. And I think it also gives decks like Blue-White and Jeskai and control decks like this extra leverage. And also I think, Dredge didn't really need any help, but it's also really good in Dredge.
So just the last follow-up point on Blast Zone. Selling point or detriment that it starts with the 1 counter on it so it can't naturally hit tokens? Or does starting at 1 mean more right now in Modern?
I think that actually it balances it in 2 ways. It does make it so that it can't just sweep up a bunch of tokens, which I think is important. And it does actually give it ability right when it enters the battlefield, which I think is also really important.
Here's a smasher coming from Sspiderspace. This is going to be big. Just the Karn in hand for Bisquis. And Team Ice. It's just all coming up ice here this evening. You know, if you look back as a stats guy, you'd say that right now Team Fire is really slumping. Team Fire had the first 2 matches with you and Dido picking up wins, but since then, you guys have only won 1 of the last 6 matches if this ends up going to Sspiderspace.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of mulliganing, and I feel for all of my teammates. Mulliganing is always rough. I think that Vicwiz has done the best he can with the hand that he has been dealt, and that's all I can ask for as teammate.
Yeah, Vicwiz just kind of hand over the face right now. Of course, we'll see the same decks in action in week 2, but different matchups between Team Fire and Team Ice. And I believe that Team Ice is hosting next week too. So we'll get to see the plays from Team Ice's point of view. And there's the concession as Team Ice makes it 3 in a row. Sspiderspace wins the showdown of Eldrazi on the board here in round 3. That was a 2-0 sweep for Sspiderspace. Congratulations, the Thalia Stompy deck taking down the Eldrazi Tron deck here in round 3. Kat, were you surprised with that outcome at all? You mentioned how good Thalia is in that matchup. She only made an appearance for just a moment before she was removed from the board. Didn't end up being a big player in the match, but we certainly saw that the other white cards come to bear for Sspiderspace in the win.
I'm not really surprised. I do think the Thalia Stompy version is favored because of Thalia, both of the different versions of Thalia, and you have Arbiter Ghost Quarter package, and while lands in E-Tron, like having Tron online is like less important. You still want your temples, and you're still trying to like cheat on mana in a sense. I think they also get to like have a Spirit Guide, so they're Thought-Knot Searing on 3 versus 4, which is really important. And they just turbo out creatures that the same creatures as you, but faster than you.
Big takeaways this week, day 2, week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. Kat, not only fantastic at playing, but also at giving us insight into the matches we just saw, and that Blue Red Phoenix completely fair, doesn't need any tinkering by Wizards here in the modern format. Kat, thanks so much for hanging out with us this evening. We appreciate the insight, the time. Congratulations on your win in match 1, the first ever win in the MSL. They'll put that on your resume when you're up for the Hall of Fame, I'm sure.
Oh, thanks.
We'll look forward to your matchup coming up next week. Kat Light joining us here this evening on the Modern Streamers League. Guano Maestro joins me next. We'll get another check-in on the forecast of Doom, Hardened Scales, and Zoo Burn. This is going to be lightning fast in round 4 tonight. Don't miss it. This is the Modern Streamers League.
Are you ready for phase 1?
one.
This is the Modern Streamers League, night one, night two, I should say, of week one. The action has been so fast and furious, it's going to feel like we're on week four, well, right before we get there almost. Sean Seacrease now along with Guano Maestro again. And Guano,
I'm back.
I think that this is going to be the traditional spot each week where we see maybe the most interesting match, and that's round four each night. Monday night, we saw the matchup between Abzan Koko and 5-color Niv Mizzet Reborn. That one was a ton of fun. This one might be over if you blink. It's going to be Yamakiller on Hardened Scales. Gal Schlesinger taking on Scott Spurlock, Noblemurloc. He is on Zuburn. This one is going to be all about get your opponent dead fast. The only thing they're going to do differently, I think, in this one is how they count the points of damage.
Well, I mean, it's a great matchup. I love watching when people try to slam every card they have as fast as they can onto the board. It's like there's no, I love decks where there's not really that much thinking. You're just going. I mean, you might have a couple thoughts about the lines if you want a strategy. When you know one person's playing burn and you're playing a lot of 1 to 2 mana costs, it's basically who can get their cards out as quick as possible. And also, I wanted to let you know, too, Visquez sent me a message while you're off. That's actually his maiden name. So he'd much rather prefer you call, and what that is I looked it up, his little number there. That is a classic email prefix that they used to use back when in the time of AOL, when they would send you spam email before they started figuring out how to filter that stuff out. That was like the numbers that they would use for that stuff. So that's at least what I heard. Other than that, it's his maiden name.
In his honor, I'm now going to do the Modern Streamers list on Netscape for the next 9 weeks. That was just fantastic. Thanks for the insight. I appreciate it. Let's get some insight into this match. Hardened Scales versus Zuburn with the forecast of doom on this, the Modern Streamers League.
Welcome again to the forecast of doom. Hardened Scales versus Zuburn. This is a really, really tough one to analyze because, as our host said, this could be over in a moment. There's two ways I was really looking at this matchup. One, Zuburn could drop an early threat, a Nacatl or a Goblin Guide, and then just clear the board with burn spells and ride that Delver style to victory. Two, Zuburn could have a handful of spells and just throw as many spells as possible at Gal's face. However, the key cards really that I see in this matchup aren't on the Zuburn side. They are on the Hardened Scale side. Scale itself, Ravager, and Hangerback Walker, which can block for days against any of Zuburn's creatures, I think are the key cards in this entire matchup. Those cards will make Scott, the burn player, completely adjust to how he's playing. Post-board, things get really, really interesting. Yamakiller has Nature's Claim, which at first you might look at and be like, why would you bring in Nature's Claim against a Zoo deck? You're targeting your own artifacts to gain 4 life. You can blow up a Hangerback Walker that's tapped, kill it, gain 4 life, and get a couple Thopters to block a Goblin Guide or a Nacatl. That could be a game-changing combat trick. Noblemurloc, on the other hand, the Zoo player, has Destructive Revelry, which is really, really good at killing Steel Overseer. The one key card I think that Zuburn has that can change this whole matchup is Eidolon, because if an Eidolon gets down early, it might be able to just take over this entire game. That is the forecast of doom. Let's see how it all plays out.
Guano, this one's going to be so much fun to watch, and it's going to be fast here on round 4 tonight in the Modern Streamers League. I have one confession to make. I said at the beginning of the broadcast tonight that the last time I had to seriously consider a modern deck for a serious tournament that you would see it here tonight, it was this. It was Hardened Scales. I didn't end up making that event, but this is the kind of Magic that I'm looking to play in Modern. So let's see if it's going to be Zuburn or if it's going to be Hardened Scales. Guano, you got a favorite in this matchup?
Yeah, Hardened Scales got to be. I've been beat by that deck so many times. It's so frustrating. The Hangerback Walker, if you can't turn off, they have Rest in Peace, you can't turn off the Thopter creation. It's like, man, the Ravager just sacrifice, goes everything. And then, of course, you can come up top with one of your lands. It has Infect right there, the Inkmoth Nexus. So many options, so many things to do to just create giant creatures that crush you.
Yamakiller. He's already looking at an active Inkmoth. I think he's got every expectation that he can end this losing streak for Team Fire here in round 4 tonight. Team Ice has won everything. If it continues to go this way, maybe there's a curse of the host team, because Team Fire has been hosting the broadcasts, so we watch their side of the match, and yet they're just 2-6 here in the first week. Maybe there's going to be, they came back. They are 3-5 here in this first week. It could be 3-6 if Yamakiller can't pick up the win here tonight. So let's see. Maybe there's a curse of the host team. Or might be looking a little bit far
like
into
the Sports Illustrated curse, or Home and Gardens curse, right? Like that one?
I think the only curse of the Home and Gardens is if you're stuck with it while you're looking to kill some time in a tightly cloistered space.
Agreed. Like the dentist's office.
With the Yamakiller's defense team put together right now. And there's Ravager looking to come down. Now the pieces are starting to come together for Yamakiller. This is a deck that can just kill on explosive turns out of nowhere. And once Ravager's down, Guano, it's really hard to pin down creature removal on the Hardened Scales side of the board. Meanwhile, the Zoo Burn deck, they're trying to chip in and use their cards as effectively as they can. Some of the synergy coming with Monastery Swiftspear and the ability to use cards like Lightning Bolt to grow it while also getting in incremental damage on the other side of the board. Let's see if that's, in fact, how Noblemurloc's going to go about this.
Block strategy, add the counter, sack it, you get 2. I guess if he doesn't trigger the prowess, though, he could kill this Swiftspear. I'd be surprised if he doesn't trigger it, though.
Yeah, and TheSaintDoom pointed this out in the Forecast of Doom, just how much time Hangerback Walker can buy against decks that can't bring Trample to bear against you.
Yeah, that's
serious plays. That is a big play from Noblemurloc. He's going to keep the Swiftspear. He's going to kill off quite a few options.
No, still gets the damage to Yamakiller, though, even though he sacrificed that creature.
That is a big, big play from Murloc to, 1, add some tempo to his side of the board, and 2, reduce the number of blockers he's going to have to work through here on the next couple of turns. And while we've seen a lot of Team Fire be mulligan heavy tonight, Yamakiller, he looks a little land heavy for this deck right now.
Yeah, I did 4, 3. Right now, I'd be most worried about the Arcbound Ravager with the Inkmoth Nexus getting activated. Looks like he's got plenty of tokens on, plenty of 1/1s on all these guys. Oh, here comes the Eidolon. This is what exactly what TheSaintDoom was talking about right here.
The incidental shocking for the cheap spells with Eidolon on the board. Throne of Geth, another interesting value tool for Hardened Scales, and now Steel Overseer there as well. Both of these can join the party if he chooses to. Instead, we're going to look at
shields down.
Can he move over enough onto the Inkmoth Nexus for a clean kill this turn? With the Ravager sacrifices.
4, 5, 6.
This is going to be close. Yamakiller, you can see the studied plan on his face as he goes through the marathon of clicks responsible for putting all of these
right there
where he wants them, and that's on the Inkmoth.
That's 10.
It's 9 tokens onto the Inkmoth Nexus. That's 10 power. That's Infect. And that's the clean kill, Guano, that I talked about, that you can see from these quick starts from Hardened Scales. Didn't even have the namesake card that time to really throw it into overdrive. But the incidental damage from Noblemurloc and the Zoo Burn, not enough for the big turn by Hardened Scales.
Yeah, he didn't get that Eidolon down quick enough. If that would have come down 2-3 turns earlier, he would have had, instead of those little 1-drops trying to get some prowess triggers, That would have been a big, big shift.
And I'm not surprised. This is probably going to set the record for fastest match of the night, even if we go 3 games, I think, on this one. So a lot of fun watching Yamakiller on Hardened Scales and Noblemurloc on Zuburn here. Round 4, night 2, week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. You know, the entirety of the participation by all these great modern streamers is all being done for charity. So support their charities. Team Ice, Team Fire, Team Ice playing for the Cancer Research Institute, and Team Fire playing for A21, looking to end human trafficking worldwide. You can make your donation just below us. Check it out. Find what works for you. Support the team that you're rooting for in Team Fire versus Team Ice, and take that moment. If you have the means, make that donation and impact so many lives around the world, all while we're having fun watching the most popular non-rotating format in Magic history.
New Art Goblin Guide. Gotta love that. And this is what I was talking about with Yamakiller. Look, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards he can dump onto the battlefield right now. Actually, 5 with the Arcbound Ravager.
And that's what gives it a little feel of sort of the old Affinity deck, Squano, is that it's nothing to see him dump 5, 6, sometimes even all 7 cards on turn 1.
Yep. I agree.
We're off to the races.
All
Mox
right.
Opal's fair and balanced Magic card.
Fair and balanced.
Double Mox Open opener from Yamakiller, and now Guide going to get in. Guide trigger. Why not? More land. Yamakiller a little land heavy right now, but he'll take it. He went with that Blink Moth Nexus in his hand. So Blink Moth and Ink Moth in the deck. Sometimes Blink Moth becomes that card that, yeah, you kind of have to begrudgingly have it in there so that you're threat dense enough, but certainly not able to leverage the quick kills like Ink Moth can with Infect.
Is he going for it right here? He's going for it right here. Shields down. We got 5/5. Wow. Wait a minute.
Murloc's tapped out.
Yeah, but I guess he's just getting the 5 in there. I guess he
That's
knows
what-
he doesn't
that's a
have
kill.
any land destruction, so...
It's a kill this turn. He knows he has the Blink Moth in hand for the 1 to activate it.
Plus the welding jar to keep it alive.
Double Welding Jar. I mean, it would have to be Path to Exile from Noblemurloc. And now he's going shields down, and Yamakiller's going to win this game. Yamakiller activates the Ink Moth, swings in with the 5/5 Nexus. And that's going to be Team Fire getting on the board here this evening.
That was a
Yamakiller
quickie. Woo!
in a quick and brutal matchup against Zuburn, and Noblemurloc gets Team Fire on the board in the most Hardened Scales kind of way. Does it without Hardened Scales, but that was just a symphony of token management, of +1/+1 counter management, I should say, with Ravager throughout the match. Guano, he didn't miss a mark. If you mangle your math when you're playing Hardened Scales, you're going to take away opportunities you have to win. No problems for Yamakiller. He had this one, it seemed like, locked down early.
Yeah, I'm a math mangler for sure. So this deck definitely doesn't fit my style, but he used everything he had to. I mean, he knew when to sack, when not to sack, when to keep. Using the Hangerback Walker for excellent defense in the first game. He did everything he was supposed to do. That was very tight play.
Our sponsors here on the Modern Streamers League, Card Hoarder and Card Kingdom. You need cards to play these great decks. They've got you covered digital, live in paper. Card Kingdom, Card Hoarder. Check them out. They help us bring you this great tech and these great streamers here on the Modern Streamers League. One more round, and then we're wrapped up for week 1. This is round 10 coming up to wrap up our second night this week of the Modern Streamers League. We'll have that final match as we're going to see Whir Prison take on Dredge. This is going to be a contrast of styles and 2 great players to help us wrap up week 1 right here next on the Modern Streamers League.
phase one.
This is match 10, week 1 of the Modern Streamers League. Team Fire needs a win, Guano. They can tie this up at 5-5 after getting just one win so far tonight. That's a lot to put on one player's shoulders. But if you tell me I need a win and you tell me I got Susurrus playing Karn, Whir, Prison, I'd probably feel pretty good. But wait a minute, let's not hand over that win to Team Fire just yet. Team Ice is bringing the newest inductee onto the Pro Tour into their corner, and that's Sodekmtg, and he is playing the deck that has put him on the Pro Tour that he is known for. He has Dredge, his favorite modern weapon, in his hands. Sodek, Susurrus, other than alliteration run wild, this should be a whole lot of fun, Guano.
I do have one question for you, though, Sean. So in this deck, in this prison deck, is Karn the Warden, or is he Andy Dufresne? I haven't quite figured that out yet.
I think Karn's running the prison right here. He's in charge.
So he's the Warden.
Get out of the sideboard. Yeah, I think he's going to be the Warden in this matchup. You know, we're just an asylum of modern crazies here, and if there's one guy who has the key to all of our prisons, yeah, it's the Modern Streamers League founder, Mike Goldenberg. You know me, TheSaintDoom. It is time for the forecast of doom before round 5 here on the Modern Streamers League.
Welcome for the final edition in week 1 for the forecast of doom. We have Karn, Whir, Prison against Dredge. This is a really, really interesting matchup because these two decks fight on very different aspects, and we can actually look at very, very key cards that are really important in this matchup. If Dredge throws a bunch of creatures in play, prized amalgams, bloodghast, and the like, maybe even that one of Hogak that's in that list, then, well, Prison can just drop a Ensnaring Bridge and a Cloister Clog, make it so that nobody can attack in. That is one avenue which Prison can lock down the Dredge player. In that case, the Creeping Chill and Conflagrate are the ways that Dredge can squeak out a win in game 1. Post-board is when things get really interesting in this matchup. And while for Prison, they have Karn main boards, they kind of have less of a sideboard available. They don't really have too many key cards available post-board. So I think I'd say game 1 favored for Prison, but post-board clearly favored for Dredge because Sodek can bring in a whole bunch of artifact removal, Nature's Claim, Abrupt Decay, Shenanigans, and Ancient Grudge. I'm not sure if Sodek was gunning for Susurrus in this week 1, but man, he has 8 artifact removal spells in the sideboard, which will make life very difficult for an artifact prison deck. That is the forecast of doom. Let's see how this all plays out.
Thanks, Mike.
It's good insights, TheSaintDoom. He's got us set up. I think there's only one thing that he might have left out, Guano, and that's if this match goes the way Susurrus wants it to go, we might still be here 3 hours from now.
Oh, yes. And he doesn't have any laundry for me to talk about, so what am I going to do? I mean, geez.
Susurrus taking on Sodek right now. Last match of week 1 here on the Modern Streamers League. Let's see how this one unfolds. Of course, you mentioned, Guano, we call it the Modern Streamers League. I would hope it would be self-evident. These are all great streamers that we've gotten to watch all week, and we'll get to watch for 9 more weeks. The only one that we really can't call that is Matt Hurley from the Tryhards. He had done some streaming regularly at one point, but due to a job promotion he recently got, he's had to kind of curtail that because somebody thought it wise to give him more responsibility. I still haven't talked to that person in person. We'll get off the schneid in week 2 next week. Same decks, all different matchups across Team Fire and Team Ice. Will we be tied at 5 matches apiece, or will Team Ice have the leg up at 6-4? This last match is going to decide that here this evening. All right,
Don't give
Seuss-
Matt too much credit, Sean. Maybe he's the fall guy at his job. You know, those people get paid money too.
I'm sure that he'll have something to weigh in with us before next week comes up. Speaking of next week, Guano, we've got all kinds of things coming throughout this run of the Modern Streamers League. We've got some quick, fun, get to know our players segments that we've called extra turns that are produced, and we're going to have a chance to share. We're going to have player deck techs rolled out during the stream. We're just going to kind of, as I said at the beginning, keep building this omelet as we go along the next couple of weeks. And
post-match ponderings too. That's another one we're working on there. Or they got to get to share. They can do it a couple different ways. They can do it right after their match, or they can kind of sit down and think about what they should do. You get a lot of different options from our players here. They really get to get into their heads. No other broadcast is doing what we're doing here.
We just wanted to keep it on the players and their matchups really this week in week one, and we're going to give you some insight into those players and how they play their favorite decks here over the next couple of weeks. Susurrus, he's starting to build out with his Whir Prison deck. We see right now for Team Fire, you see he is putting together just a few of the pieces, but Ancient Stirrings. When all your key pieces are colorless artifacts, we see this in Tron. They're getting another deck, and they actually have another instant speed way to tutor for it with that Whir of Invention. So we're starting to see Susurrus with some of his best tutors, but now Sodek's getting the Dredge triggers going. He's got an Archamoeba. He's now been able to quickly bring cards out of his graveyard, and this one's gone well as he's got the Vampire already ready, and the payoff with the double here early. That is a big double gold pull for Sodek out of the graveyard.
He's sweating through that bandana right now.
Susurrus is for sure. This should be an interesting challenge. Now, Mike TheSaintDoom talked about it in the Forecast of Doom. This is one of the lines that Susurrus had to expect from Sodek, and is he going to be able to set up that lock with the bridge and the cloister?
What are we doing here? Is that a piece of mail that was slid under Susurrus's door right there in the background? I don't know what that is right there. It looks like he's got a notice from his landlord for something back there. Maybe landlord's telling him he should have played the ensnaring bridge. I don't know. Oh, he's moving his chat over. This is so we're working with the streamers to get their videos nice and tight, and it seems as though Susurrus decided not to get his chat blanked out there. We try to hide that so they have a little bit of privacy while they're talking to each other. I mean, who knows what they're going to type in there, but we're looking good.
Electing the Whir here. What's he going to go for? Does he go right away for the bridge? I think that's a question. Or does he have
it in his hand? He's got a bridge in his hand.
Mm-hmm. Does he have another piece in mind? Is it good enough to get a backup? I think.
Oh, the crypt.
An instant, and the crypt. Free to go get. And now he's got the ability to cut off the graveyard. But you already see from Sodek, the newly minted Pro Tourer, that he's got already 9 power on board, and Susurrus is at 12.
And the snare and the bridge wouldn't have really done anything either, because he would have had 4 cards in his hand. So he had to go get rid of that card so he could get the bridge going there, get it out of the hand. The bummer is he put his chalice on 1, so he can't cast his stirrings to get that out of his hand.
Susurrus just not able to empty the hand quick enough to set up the E-bridge. Here it would seem in game 1. But he's got a lot of options that are going to be open to him next turn, Guano, because he's got the Ancient Stirrings.
Yeah, they can.
He's got the land that he can play and start with another artifact, I believe, start gaining some incidental life. And if he gets to 0 cards in hand, now the E-bridge plus the life gain off of Inventor's Fair actually does pull him back from the brink.
Yeah, he's right there right now. If it doesn't look like Sodek's gonna be getting some blood cast, he can't get the blood cast to give haste. So this is pretty much it right here. And what my point was with the stirrings is chat's right. He could have cast it, but not if he would have played the ensnaring bridge, because he would have used up all of his mana. So that was my point. Sorry if I wasn't clear enough. I know Kat blows me away with magic knowledge, but I think I got her on the smack talking.
I don't know if we drop the gauntlet to her, maybe she could rise to that occasion as well.
That could be a whole show by itself. We could just do a little smack talk show, actually. Maybe another Tryhards podcast.
Oh, I think that would be so much better than anything we produced previously that I want to embarrass our previous catalog by getting something that good going.
There is no better mama jokes.
There maybe just a little smack talk showdown, kind of like rap battles, epic rap battles of history. We could do that between the players between rounds. Just tune it up a little bit. Essentially turn the Modern Streamers League almost into like a pro wrestling sideshow. I don't know. Something tells me we'd have a lot of players that would be very good at that.
We could just get Vilder Valderrama, whatever his name is. They had the what was that show called? Wild and Out, something like that.
Oh, you're talking about the follow-up, not going all the way back. No, but this is the board state that we were talking about with Susurrus. He's got the hand empty. He's got the ensnaring bridge. He's got the inventor's fair. So now only 0 power creatures can attack from Sodek's side, which eliminates all the creatures that he has in play from attacking. And with 4 artifacts in play, Susurrus should start gaining just a point of life here, a point of life there. And as long as he can distribute the card that he has in his hand each turn, it's going to be up to him the next time anybody can attack. So you might think 2 life, Susurrus is in trouble unless there's a main deck way for Sodek to remove that E-Bridge in game 1. Susurrus actually might have just locked his opponent out of the game.
Well, he's got the Creeping Chill, which removes 3 life. You lose 3 life, gain 3 life. So that's his only shot right now.
And he's got the ability to look for that. That the Bone Thug I see, the Dredger he's got on the board. So he's got a chance to dredge.
Bone Thugs in Harmony? All right.
We've only got 1 right now.
Uh-oh, EE, but he can't play.
He can pick it for 2. That would take care of what? The Bloodghasts and the Narcomoebas if it came down to that?
I think you just put it on 1.
I think you may. Let's see what he elects to do with it. Did he elect to go 1?
Yep.
Yeah, looks like he did.
Do you have Conflagrate in the main board too? I mean, that's a possibility there too. So many options.
Yes, certainly not locked out of the game is Sodek with the Dredge deck, but he's going to have to find a way to win outside the red zone. That the E-Bridge locks the red zone out as a path to victory, and maybe Creeping Chill was the ad that the deck needed to get around this situation. You had the Conflagrate, but usually those weren't played in great numbers because you get the 3-point life swing off of the passive trigger of dredging. Now, all of a sudden, there's a reason to play 4 free lightning helixes, as it were, on Dredge's side. So, that landscape is changing a little bit, the texture of the deck with those 4 cards.
Looks like he's getting the Conflagrate mana together. Conflagrate.
And this is one of the key outs that Susurrus was trying to dodge, just trying to fade Conflagrate, trying to fade Creeping Chill until his Inventor's Fair could put him out of reach. It was going to be hard to get out of reach of Conflagrate, granted, but that was all he was going to have to worry about if he could gain a couple more turns and keep himself away from anything shy of maybe a triple Creeping Chill.
Oh, but see, I think Conflagrate, is it because it's a 1 mana spell there, the C converted mana cost? But when he casts it, I guess maybe not. So, because it's in the graveyard. That's yeah. Oh, it's X. Okay. Oh, now he's got the lock. There we go. 2 and 1 on the Chalice of Void. So
yeah, Chalice was a big draw for him.
He's talking about it right. Oh, he just avoided it here by 1 life. Look at that. Just missed it.
Susurrus. He knows that this is the risk you take, Guano. He knows he's put himself in the best position he can right now but that doesn't mean that all the outs have been smothered for your opponents. Not just yet, and not with as many different avenues to victory as Dredge can take now. Bloodghast. Remember, the red zone is cut off because of the ensnaring bridge and no cards in Susurrus's hand.
So he's looking at the exiled cards there. You can see there's 3 creeping chills in there. Sodek's only got 3 more cards left in his hand, in his deck. So 1 more dredge for him. And do they run 4 creeping chills? We could check.
His deck line is up. You can check it out at greatnessatannycost.com. Flying Delver does our deck matchups in a short synopsis that you can click on anytime you like. His Greatness at Any Cost site is invaluable as you're getting ready to watch the Modern Streamers League and want to know what you're going to be looking at each week. And we check out Sodek's deck, non-creature spells, 4 Creeping Chill, 2 Conflagrate. So that's what he's working toward. That means he's got 1 left, right? Because Susurrus looked through.
Right, it's in the bottom 3.
So, yep. Susurrus at 2. These are nervous moments. Can Sodek find that Creeping Chill to finish him?
Well, he just doesn't want to draw it, right? He wants the dredge action, but will the dredge? There it is right there. That's it. Game 1.
Nervous moment. Susurrus, you can see him kind of nervously, quickly explaining his thought process as he was working through it. Now we get to see the post-board games from both of these just strategically polar opposite decks almost. Whir Prison and Dredge here in the last round of the Modern Streamers League. Week 1, Night 2 between Team Fire and Team Ice. Sean Secreets along with Guano Maestro. Guano, let's not forget, this is all for charity throughout the week and throughout the weeks of the Modern Streamers League. Team Fire playing for A21. They are out to fight human trafficking around the globe. And who's Team Ice playing for?
Team Ice is playing for the Cancer Research Institute. They are using immunology, which is the best, newest technology to cure cancer. And all your money goes straight to finding cures for all different kinds of cancer. Colon cancer, brain cancer, lung cancer, all the cancers. That's the thing. I think as soon as we unlock the cure to cancer, we get them all. So that's the key.
That one close to my heart. Cancer's been a scourge for generations in my family. And if you've got the opportunity to donate to either of our great charities that Team Ice and Team Fire are representing, fighting for valiantly, well, why don't you go ahead and do that? Anything would be appreciated to help fund these 2 great causes around the globe. Susurrus looks like he's settling in on his sideboard plan to take out Sodek, who got game 1. It came down to the wire. 2 things that I don't like when I play Magic. 1, not having cards in my hand, which rules me out from playing Whir Prison. And 2, needing to flip over a card when I've got 3 left in my deck, which kind of rules me out from playing Dredge, Guano.
Well, it's the thing with that is that when you use the dredge mechanism, you don't deck yourself. You don't get any penalty for it. So you can go all the way down to 0 and you're still okay.
Still makes me nervous. Very, very unsettled about that being the state of affairs if I'm in control, which is probably why I'm not a great Modern player and streamer like the ones that we get to watch throughout the weeks of the Modern Streamers League. Week 2 coming up next week. Monday night, we'll be right back at it. Constructed decks again, different matchups. You'll see it. Team Fire, Team Ice. Team Fire needs this win to end week 1 level at 5 matches apiece. Team Ice looking for a leg up at 6-4 with a comeback win by Sodek here in round 10. Susurrus going to the hydration before we get things started here in game 2.
Right, the chat is rushing to correct me, just rushing to correct me. But my point was, again, I love it though. I love being corrected. It makes me feel like I'm around family. But when you use the dredge mechanism, it won't cause you to lose the game. The next turn you could lose the game if you don't find what you need. But the dredge mechanism itself does not force you to lose the game.
So here's a good start by Susurrus. He gets the double welding jar to protect whatever artifacts he thinks are worth protecting on his side. Blast Zone is going to give him a way to scoop up some threatening permanents or maybe even just take out that Shriekhorn early if he wants to. And then he's got the Whir to go get whatever lock piece he feels is necessary as to how the board state develops from Sodek. If I'm Susurrus, Guano, I got to be ecstatic with the way this hand is set up.
Yeah, he's looking good, but like Doom said, he's got 8 different artifact removal cards in Sodek's deck, so lots and lots and lots.
Well, and I think that's why Susurrus has to be so happy with the double welding jar, because as Kat mentioned earlier, these are open deck lists. They were closed until submission was due for each team. But once we shared the deck lists for the league members with the rest of the world, well, that included the league members being able to go research their matchup. So Susurrus, knowing that his opponent this time in Sodek has the extra artifact removal, I think that's why the double welding jar has to have him so excited here.
And the Graph Diggers. I mean, he landed the Graph Diggers, so that's going to stop anything coming out.
This one feels like Susurrus is going to be taking his time to victory if Sodek allows him here in game 2. We talked about if we're still going at it 3 hours from them, that Susurrus would be winning this matchup. I don't think it'll take exactly that long, but yes, longer matches would tend to tell you that the prison deck is doing what it wants to do. My question, and we're obviously playing this on Magic Online where you do have the chess clock in effect, is if you're Sodek, how long do you drag it out? And there's the answer. He's done. Because Dredge knows, one, it's going to be on the play in game 3, and obviously against Prison, that's where it wants to be, because it can put together some absolutely broken turn 1, 2, 3 combinations while the Whir Prison deck is still setting up its Prison on its side of the table. So one more game to see how this week 1 ends here between Sodek, a newly minted Pro Tour this weekend. Congratulations to Sodek and Susurrus here. And I have to say this, Guano, about Susurrus. He is the only one whose thumbnail gives yours a run for its money. His thumbnail photo.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, not actual.
Does he, you mean I was like, wait a minute. You're talking about that. He has something better than the mosquito net? Ooh.
I don't know about better. I said run for the money.
Okay, all right.
He's got the good mean mug going in all of his photo ops. Susurrus on the draw this time for Team Fire. Now, what can Dredge do on this opening turn? Is turn 1 Shriekhorn going to come? We saw that with Ghost Empire on Monday, Ghost X Empire a number of times, but no turn 1 play from Dredge. No Faithless Looting, no Shriekhorn.
Is he gonna? Oh, he's playing the crypt out. He's taking the risk. This could be an end of turn. Smash the crypt. There it is. I claim the crypt as my own. All right, sorry.
So the crypt in play. It's going to be good enough the first time, but Dredge and a lot of savvy Dredge pilots, they can just sort of play over the top, as it were.
And now he's got nothing to deal with that. I mean, he's got the ensnaring bridge, but Sodek's going to get his engine rolling here real quick. There's the welding jar he was looking for that bridge. Now he can hit the Spellskite, actually, if he gets to... Well, I guess that doesn't really do too much right now. Yeah, Talisman's a better play for sure.
Well, right now, but that welding jar, you were right to point that out, because one of the cards that Kat and I got to really break down in its impact on Modern and what decks have loved it is the Blast Zone that Sodek now has, because that Blast Zone doesn't care what color your permanents are, it doesn't care what type they are. He can sweep up a lot of artifacts on the Prison side all in one go if they share that same converted mana cost.
Yes, but that was right. You were talking about the token on there. How could you remove that token right there? That's the new broken card, right? Yeah. Nobody's figured that one out yet. I mean, obviously there's ways to do it, but not putting too much effort into that tech.
Yeah, I think that right now probably not the first thing on Sodek's mind, because he's going to look at those ensnaring bridges at 3. He's going to look at maybe some chalices, depending on if they come down early and on significant mana costs.
Right.
Ancient Stirrings now coming from Susurrus.
And he's got, well, that's 2 right there. Sodek has used 2 artifact destruction cards already. So he's got 3 cards in his hand. Looks like he's got a graveyard full of Dredge cards. So
yeah, the engine seems to be coming online for Sodek. Could Susurrus go to put the pieces together the way he did in Game 2? Thinking about Bauble. Thinking about Glimmervoid. Gonna go Glimmervoid.
a lot of tanking right now. I like it. Lots of thinking and thinking and thinking.
Well, I think Susurrus knows that, this is all of Team Fire looking at him saying, hey, pull us even. And he's got one game to do it right here.
It's also real dangerous, too, because at this point, if he can take out that talisman, that Glimmervoid has to get sacked. So, adios.
We'll see if that's exactly how Sodek wants to go at it, or if he's got another line of play. Of course, we can't see Sodek's hand this week. Next week, I believe Team Ice will be the one hosting the streams, so we'll be able to see into the hands and minds of all the Team Ice players.
I mean, I guess he could Whir of Invention with for a Tormod's Crypt on the stack. There it is. Ancient Grudge. Here it comes. Tormod's Crypt.
Because you certainly don't want the prized amalgam to start running wild.
Oh, he goes with the welding jar. I guess he doesn't run 2. Maybe there aren't. We can't. Here comes the amalgam.
Yep. Saw them both last game. Now what's he going to go for with the second Whir? The double Whir gave him so much flexibility.
Yeah, Whir for Cage.
He's got one here, and it looks like that's going to be where he goes. He's got the welding jar to back it up, and we know that Sodek is tapped out here. Shields are down for a moment.
But now nothing can come in, though, so can't target things in the graveyard. He can't use his graveyard. Grafdigger's Cage shuts it down. He's got 4 power on the battlefield. Spellskite can block the prized amalgam. The only Narcomoeba is a 1-power creature, though, so he's got to have his hand completely empty. Although at 20 life, he's not really worried about that right now.
Well, in Blast Zone, can you get it where you want it and tap it to destroy things on the same turn? No, that's one of its shortcomings versus Engineered Explosive, because you have to tap it to put the counters on it, as well as tap it to sacrifice it. So we'll see. Blast Zone.
That's it. He's trying to get rid of that cage.
Well, he knows he's got to work through the welding jar somehow.
Oh, another welding jar.
Well, what a huge draw from Susurrus. And that one wasn't set up by a word. That was a rip off the top. That's going to give him an opportunity to throw out either the Spellskite. He's going to go with the Spellskite.
Looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think the only downside to that turn, for Susurrus was that he was still on 3 mana. He couldn't get both the Spyglass and the Spellskite down on that same turn. He had to be a little mana inconvenient, but I think he's still doing enough right now, especially with that cage online, and he's still got another welding jar.
So it's interesting. Chat could help me out here. So with Cathartic Reunion or any of the draw cards that Sodek has, are they not able to target the graveyard, so they can't use the dredge mechanic? Is that how that works? Or, I mean, that's what I would assume. I mean, any kind of draw here, you would just trying to be getting those creeping chills, right? And to just keep moving it. So dredge works okay. That's what I heard. All right. Cage don't stop no Dredge. You can't stop me, Cage.
No, it's not going to stop the trigger on that. It doesn't fall under target or entering, so should be good to go with Cage. Now, where does he think he's going with?
He's just dropping that in there so he can use it later.
Edge target. That feels like a pretty low-powered turn right now from Sodek. Let's see if he's just going to try and set this up. And so Nature's Claim. He's going to force the use of either the Welding Jar or the Spellskite. But we talked about 8 chances to destroy artifacts post-board for Sodek. Guano. Susurrus, he's got the additional ability to bring in the Spellskites. He's got the extra Welding Jars. He's got his extra layers of protection. So, okay, you're going to go with bigger bullets. I'm going to go with more armor. And it's going to be, I think, who wins that battle. Elects to go Welding Jar. Taps the Spellskite.
He's got to play the Spyglass next turn, right, to turn off the Blast Zone?
I would think so. Mad Beats for 4 coming in from Dredge. So the Thalia. Is it worth it to go get
There's
maybe...
the Blast Zone right there, too. Look at that. That is clutch. Look at the 2 cards. People top decking, just playing what they think. They're just beautiful magic right now.
And we know Susurrus was sitting on the Sorcerer's Spyglass, but that was a nice Blast Zone picked up by Sodek. He couldn't know that Susurrus had just the 3 cards in hand. Do you think Whir Prison could maybe go get it? Probably, but just trying to do what he can as Sodek and, push up his clock a little bit.
Well, and, he's got no real threats right now, and, the Creeping Chills are really his most dangerous card for him, right? He's got, how many left? 2 left? So,
and
you just have to go.
In a much different situation, though, than when that one Sodek the previous game, because he was at, 2, trying to bounce back with Inventor's Fair, and right now he's at 13 with just 2 Creeping Chills left, so he's not in danger of getting Creeping Chilled out of this game the way he did earlier. This is really starting to set up well for Susurrus now, I feel like, at this point. He had the redundant artifact protection when he needed it on the turns when Sodek was really trying to clear him out. I wonder just how many more shots Sodek can take with the cards in his hand and what he's going to be able to draw up.
Right, it's definitely a play between, should I go get another Welding Jar? Should I, go get the Inventor's Fair and start gaining life? There's a balance. That once again, the numbers game, the game I'm the worst at.
Math Mangler back on the loose from the
Math Mangler.
And this is a big 2-for-1. This math is easy. And this is math every Magic player likes. A 2-for-1. Spellskite able to take up that side of Ancient Grudge. Now, maybe you just say, if you're Sodek, the hell with it. I'm not going to worry about the cage anymore. I'm just going to get my beats on, because we mentioned it. Susurrus, he was at 13. That felt pretty good if all he had to worry about was Creeping Chill. But now the answer comes in and takes out the Spellskite. Now those little beats are going to add up quickly, Guano.
Well, he's got, 6 life. He wanted to transmute for the Inventor's Fair to start gaining that life. He's down to 6 right now. Definitely looking kind of dangerous. Pulls the shenanigans, though. Who doesn't like to go to shenanigans, right? Okay. I was watching Super Troopers the other day. Just to let you know.
That 5 power on the board for Sodek, or is that 6 power on the board? I know the Prized Amalgam's 3.
It's
the
5.
Narcometer
The
1.
Thug is a 1, yep. So those are still active.
So the bridge out, but not going to be enough to shut down everything this turn. And now it's nervous moments again for Susurrus.
Never thought the Golgari Thugs in Harmony would be so threatening.
Susurrus draws a land or something that he can play alongside this second Ensnaring Bridge. It's really going to buy him a lot of time, because he'll be able to take that hand size down to 0 and once again eliminate the red zone as part of the plan of attack for Sodek.
Oh, this is brutal, though. He's down to 4 life.
Oh, Stinkweed Imp. If it's something that he can't play, another 1 power.
But it's, I mean, as long as he can, here we go. He's got his hand is empty now.
He got the land. That was the easiest way out. That or another 1 or 0 drop.
But he's still looking tough, though, right now, because he's got the creeping chill. Where's this? I mean, he's got 8 cards left in his deck. He's got 4 life. I don't know.
How many creeping chill have we gone through? I think we've gone through 3.
Yeah?
So if there's just 1 left, that puts him at 1. Is Susurrus going to bring Team Fire back to even at 1 life against Dredge? Come on, that's the Whir prison, I've bucket list story, right? That's what you play this deck to do. One of those decks where your life total is seemingly completely disconnected from how good your position is on the battlefield when things are going well. Highlighting the cards that he knows are important. Susurrus from Team Fire. Our final match this week.
3 cards for Sodek.
So we know he's going to find that last one. The Bloodghasts, sure, they'll come back, but they can't attack through the Ensnaring Bridge. And they're actually being cut off by the Grafdigger's Cage, excuse me. That cage has been on the field so much longer than I thought it would last in this matchup.
He pulled a lot of saviors there. He had the Spellskite. He had 2. Uh-oh, here it goes. I thought he's just highlighting it. He's just talking about it. I was like, what's going on with that?
That's exactly what Sodek needs. He needs...
There it is, Conflag, and that's it.
So Sodek wins it when he finds the conflagration. 2 games lost by Susurrus, in which I think he knew that he didn't have the lock. Obviously, a player's experience is him, but to where he was really fading a single-digit number of cards, Guano. So when you play Whir Prison, you're looking to quietly sort of cut off all of your opponent's paths to victory, and Dredge was just able to find alternate paths that were still open before Susurrus could cut them all off, and that was the difference in this match. That's how Sodek was able to pull this off.
Agreed. And Team Ice, it was a big swing. I mean, it went from they were looking at Fire was looking to tie, but with that win, it puts them up 2 now. So I mean, that's a big victory.
Fire won the first 2 matches on opening night on Monday, and then Ice came back and took 6 of the next 8. What a run. What a run by Team Ice here. Late Monday, they got it together, and then they had the big night tonight as Sodek, he adds to the list of Sspiderspace, TheSaintDoom, and Francisco in match 1, all with wins for Team Ice here tonight on the Modern Streamers League. It's been so much fun rolling out the Modern Streamers League this week, Guano, all week long. Now we got to wait all the way till Monday to do it again.
Monday. Well, I guess it will cure the Mondays. Speaking of shenanigans, sorry, I'm bringing it all back.
Coming up on Monday, we'll have more player access for you here on the Modern Streamers League. We'll have the forecast of Doom will return, and it's all made possible because of our sponsors, Card Kingdom and Card Hoarder. Check them out for all your Magic needs. And everyone in the Modern Streamers League is here to support our drive for charity with the Modern Streamers League. Team Fire playing for A21 to help end human trafficking worldwide. Team Ice playing for the Cancer Research Institute, looking to bring an end to cancer in all of its form worldwide. Support your teams. Hopefully you can support their charities. Anything would be appreciated. For Cat Light, who joined us tonight, for TheSaintDoom, for Guano, I'm Sean. Thank you for hanging out with us. The VODs will be up just as soon as we can get them up. You want to do a little bit more deck tech, a little bit more research? Flying Delver, greatness at anycost.com. He's got the link just below the Twitch stream. You can find out about all of the constructed decks that our Modern Streamers League players will be wielding for 3 of the next 4 weeks here in part 1 of the inaugural Modern Streamers League. For the entire cast, thank you for joining us, and good night from the Modern Streamers League.
See you next week.
one.